J.D. Vance is now speaking. So basically, a vote to end the government shutdown just failed hours after it began. So let's take a listen right now and hear what he is saying.
In their legislative text want to turn it back on. That's one thing. The second thing, Matt, is we all know that there are various ways in which the Biden administration waved away illegal immigration status. They gave parolees, they gave asylum claims to people who weren't really claiming asylum. And when they waved the magic wand of amnesty, giving millions of people legal status, even though they were in the country illegally, they also gave those people access to health care benefits. So what the Democrats are engaging in is a sleight of hand. They're saying, no, no, no. Those weren't illegal aliens who were getting health care benefits, even though everybody, knows they were in the country illegally. It's a lie told by the Democrats that they're not trying to give health care benefits to illegal aliens. It's a lie that is obviously untrue if you just look at the text that they gave us, and all you have to do is understand that this is about who benefits. We think the American people's government ought to benefit American citizens. The Democrats are willing to shut it down to benefit illegal aliens. The contrast couldn't be more clear. Peter.
Thank you, Vice President Vance. The big holdup is, of course, that you guys say illegal immigrants are getting taxpayer-funded health care. Democrats say you're lying. That makes it feel like it could be a really long shutdown. Is this going to be a long shutdown?
You know, I don't know. I can't predict what congressional Democrats are going to do, Peter, but I actually don't think it's going to be that long of a shutdown. This is a pure guess from the Vice President of the United States because I think you already saw some evidence that moderate Democrats are cracking a little bit. They understand the fundamental illogic of this. Look, for years, every single one of us, we can remember Barack Obama on the White House lawn. We can remember Chuck Schumer. We can remember, Nancy Pelosi. For years, in Chuck Schumer's case, for literally decades, we've heard them say, you don't shut the government down over a policy disagreement. Okay, Republicans think this thing about health care, that thing about health care. Democrats think this thing about immigration, Republicans disagree. Whatever those disagreements are, you don't shut down the government over it. For the first time since the Democrats have been in politics, they're now saying that unless we get every policy item that we demand, we're going to shut down the people's government. They're trying to take a hostage, and we're not going to let them.
And the administration announced today that $18 billion bound for New York transportation projects is going to be frozen so it can't go to DEI programs there. But the timing of this, does announcing that today mean that you guys are going to squeeze Chuck Schumer's home state until he blinks?
Look, I haven't talked to Russ about this morning, but look, I'm sure that Russ is heartbroken about the fact that he's unable to give certain things to certain constituencies. We want to do everything that we can to help the American people, but when the Democrats shut down the government, we have to actually do a little triage to make sure the most critical and most essential services are provided. The government does a lot of things. Of course, Republicans think that the federal government probably does too much, but there are a lot of critical things the federal government does that absolutely all of us would agree need to do. Our troops need to get paid. Our air traffic controllers need to make sure that people are flying safely and on time. We need low-income people to be able to access the food services that are provided by the federal government. There are critical things that need to be saved. We're going to do everything that we can over the coming weeks, if the shutdown lasts that long, to ensure that people get the essential services that they need, despite the fact that Chuck Schumer has shut down the federal government. It's not going to be perfect because we are in a government shutdown. We are going to have to lay some people off if the shutdown continues. We don't like that. We don't necessarily want to do it, but we're going to do what we have to keep the American people's essential services continuing to run.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, and thank you for being here. Yesterday, President Trump said, as a result of the shutdown, we'll be laying off a lot of people that are going to be very affected, and the Democrats, they are going to be Democrats. Has the administration asked agencies to target federal workers who they believe to be Democrats in these reductions of forces?
We're not targeting federal agencies based on politics. We're targeting the people's government so that as much as possible of the essential services can continue to function. That is the question the president has asked the entire government, is fundamentally, okay, we're in a shutdown. That causes some problems. The troops aren't getting paid. There's nothing that we can do about that while the government is shut down. But there are essential services that we want to make sure as much as possible they still continue to function. That is the principle that's driving us forward during this shutdown. It's going to continue to be the principle that drives us forward. But let's be honest, if this thing drags on for another few days or God forbid another few weeks, we are going to have to lay people off. We're going to have to save money in some places so the essential services don't get turned off in other places. That is the reality of the government shutdown that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats have foisted upon the administration.
So what did he
Phil.
mean by they're going to be Democrats? He said they're going to be Democrats.
You've laid out a lot of the pain and problems that would come with a Democratic shutdown, and yet in the Oval Office yesterday, the president said that a lot of good could come from a shutdown. So square that circle. Which is it, a Democratic-caused crisis or a Republican opportunity for reform?
Well, I think all the president is saying, Phil, is that he wants to make sure the American people's government functions as well as it can, despite the fact that we're in a shutdown. We're going to have to make things work. And that means that we're going to have to triage some certain things. That means certain people are going to have to get laid off. And we're going to try to make sure that the American people suffer as little as possible from this shutdown. That's what the president is saying, is that, yes, this is a bad thing. Obviously, the president is trying to reopen the government, but we're going to make things work as well as we possibly can, given the constraints that we have.
And then on those policy differences for the discussion and the negotiations to come later, during the Biden administration, Democrats twice voted to expand these Affordable Care Act tax credits. But those were supposed to be temporary, and they were slated to expire at the end of the year. As you sort of crack the door open to negotiation at a later date, would the party that ran on defunding Obamacare really negotiate about potentially expanding Obamacare?
Well, Phil, what we've said to the Democrats is that we're willing to have a conversation about how to ensure that Americans continue to have access to health care, and frankly, they should have access to better health care at a lower cost. We inherited a mess of a health care system from the Biden administration. It's why the president has worked so hard on the most favored nation status for prescription drugs. It's why we care so much about lowering the cost of prescriptions and why we're doing everything else. We're willing to have that conversation, but I think it's important to bracket the health care policy conversation because it's separate from the government shutdown. We think that we can open the government and then have the conversation about what best healthcare policy to fit the needs of the American people. That's all we're trying to do. That's all we're trying to accomplish. We've got to reopen the government first. Now, Caroline, I don't know how you do this, how you actually choose people, because I don't know 90% of the names in here. Is it just who's the best dressed? Okay, I really like your shirt. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. You are President of the Senate. Can you talk about what you're doing, what the administration is doing to try to get other Senate Democrats to vote to open the government?
Yeah, we're talking to a number of our colleagues, Democratic and Republican in the Senate. I talked to a number of them last night. The president, of course, is talking to them as well. I think there really are two categories of demands that I've seen privately from congressional Democrats. I think on the one hand, those who are negotiating in good faith are saying, look, we just want to make sure that we're able to have a conversation with the administration about some of the critical needs that we see that need to get fixed over the next few months. We recognize it's kind of absurd, and a lot of them will admit in private that it's kind of absurd to shut down the people's government over these disagreements, but just agree to negotiate with us in good faith on these issues, and of course we're having that conversation with them. Then there's another category, people who say, give us everything we want or we're going to keep the government shut down. We just write those people off because they're not negotiating in good faith. And frankly, we don't need them. We've already got 3 more Democrats last night than I thought we would get. And I think it's because they recognize the illogic of the position of taking the entire American economy hostage because they don't get their policy priorities. So 3 moderate Democrats joined 52 Republicans last night. We need 5 more in order to reopen the government. And that's really where we're going to focus, is how to get those 5 additional Democrats.
Thanks, Mr. Vice President. First 2 questions. Are there plans to meet Democratic leaders again in the coming days, or are you planning on plucking off senators one by one?
So that's the whole question?
No, I got a second question.
Okay, go ahead and ask the second question.
So the president's been posting some images of Leader Jeffries and Senator Schumer
I saw.
recently. You've said that you're interested in good faith negotiations with these leaders, but what message does that send? Is it helpful to post pictures of Leader Jeffries in a sombrero if you're trying to have good faith talks with him?
Oh, I think it's funny. The president's joking, and we're having a good time. You can negotiate in good faith while also poking a little bit of fun at some of the absurdities of the Democrats' positions, and even, poking some fun at the absurdity of the Democrats themselves. I mean, I'll tell Hakeem Jeffries right now, I make this solemn promise to you that if you help us reopen the government, the sombrero memes will stop. And I've talked to the President of the United States about that. Now, to your first question, are we negotiating one-on-one? Are we negotiating in groups? Look, I will go to the U.S. Capitol right now and meet with Chuck Schumer or any Senate Democrat if it helps us reopen the government. Most of the conversations, in my experience at least, have been one-off. We're also, of course, relying on some of our Senate Republican colleagues who have good relationships across the aisle. We're going to do whatever we have to do is the answer. And I think it's tough to predict what shape this negotiation is going to take over the next few months. But I feel good about the fact that Democrats already realize privately the fundamental irrationality of their position. I hope that they're going to publicly acknowledge it and reopen the government. The guy in the back, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. You responded to a post on X of Chuck Schumer on the House floor back in 1996, railing against illegal immigrants receiving taxpayer-funded benefits. You said Chuck Schumer once recognized that it was disastrous to give illegal aliens rewards for breaking the law. Now he wants to shut down the government unless we reward illegal aliens for breaking the law. Why has Chuck Schumer changed his stance?
You know, that's a good question. Actually, it's a very tough question. Asking me to get in the head of Chuck Schumer is not a place I particularly want to be, but my basic read on it is that the entire Democratic Party, the political leadership, not every Democrat nationwide, but the political leadership of their party has got it into their heads that the only way to be compassionate is to be compassionate to illegal aliens rather than American citizens. If you go back to what Bill Clinton was saying, even Barack Obama in some cases, what he was saying about illegal immigration 10, 15, 20 years ago, you would put them on the MAGA right based purely on their rhetoric around illegal immigration. So I don't know why they've gone so far to the left. I think it's bad for the country. I think it's bad for them politically. But our principle, all I can do is speak for the president that I serve and the country, the administration that I serve right now. We believe that the American people's government exists for the American people. That means the people who have the legal right to be here, and that's why we're fighting to reopen the government. And unfortunately, the Democrats are fighting to shut it down for the benefit of illegal aliens. And I'll take a couple more, and then I'll let Caroline. I'll go back to my day job so Caroline can go back to hers. All right. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Just going back to the sombrero, you said that the president is joking, but Hakeem Jeffries says that these memes were racist. What's your response to that? And just if I may briefly go off topic, Secretary Hegseth yesterday made an edict about no more beardos in the military. Just wondered what.
Sorry, what did he say?
No more beardos.
Beards.
Oh, sorry, that's my accent. Just wondered your response to that.
I didn't see that particular comment. I thought Pete gave a hell of a speech, and a speech that really is just oriented around returning the American military to the very high standards that it has had for virtually its entire history until Joe Biden came along and decided to lower standards. I think it was bad for our military, and it was bad for our troops. When I was a young United States Marine, I did not have a beard. I am now the vice president, so I get to do what I want to do. But I think Pete's trying to re-implement high standards, and that's a very good thing. On the sombrero thing, I mean, Hakeem Jeffries said it was racist, and I know that he said that, and I honestly don't even know what that means. Like, is he a Mexican American that is offended by having a sombrero meme? I mean, I saw one of the major TV stations put the meme up and then say, this is AI generated. And he had like the curly animated mustache too. It's like, do you really not realize the American people recognize that he did not actually come to the White House wearing a sombrero and a black curly animation mustache? Like, give the country a little bit of credit. We're all trying to do a very important job for the American people. The President of the United States likes to have a little bit of fun when he's doing it, and I think that's okay. I'll take one more question.
Mr. Vice President, in every previous shutdown, workers have been furloughed, not laid off. So why does the President want to fire some workers and not just furlough them? Why is this shutdown any different?
Well, first of all, we haven't made any final decisions about what we're going to do with certain workers. What we're saying is that we might have to take extraordinary steps, especially the longer this goes on. We're going to have to take extraordinary measures to ensure the people's government operates, again, not perfectly, because it's not going to operate perfectly in the midst of a shutdown, but operate as well as it possibly can. And I think that the Democrats, if they're so worried about the effect this is having on the American people, and they should be, what they should do is reopen the government, not complain about how we respond to the fact that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats have shut down the government in the first place. Thank you all.
Also
Caroline.
speaks to the targets and benefits, Mr. Vice President.
Thank you.
Should
See you
Americans
guys.
be prepared for their benefits to be cut as well?
All right, guys. Well, let's let the fun continue. The Vice President's a very busy man, and I'm happy to take some more questions. I know there's more news today. Aside from the shutdown, we can focus on the shutdown if you want, but let's go ahead. Kate, why don't you start?
The president talked about doing things that he said were irreversible during the shutdown, cutting vast numbers of people, he said, and cutting programs. Can you specify what exactly he was referring to, what's on the table, and what's going to be cut?
Look, I think the Vice President just referred to this in some of the answers that he gave regarding the layoffs. There are unfortunate consequences to a government shutdown, and the federal government is not receiving any cash at the moment, and so the Office of Management and Budget has been tasked with looking over the receipts and looking over the budget of the entire federal bureaucracy, and as the Vice President said, determining what needs to continue to go out the door and what can we continue to keep running, and what unfortunately is going to have to come to an end. So those decisions are being...
All right, we were just hearing from Caroline Leavitt, but a moment ago we were just hearing from Vice President J.D. Vance, who was giving comments about the government shutdown. The funding bill has failed, and we're needing some more votes to get this passed. 60 votes are needed. At last check, it was 55-45. And he talked a little bit about trying to sway some Democrats and just what's planning to happen in the next coming days. He does not think, though, that it's going to be a long shutdown. The last shutdown was about 7 years ago or so, and it lasted 35 days, so that is some good news. He did say that he's trying to get some Democrats to cross over. About 3 crossed over last night, but he wants to have what he calls good faith negotiations with them. But then there are obviously some other Democrats that want to stick to their plans, their bills, so we're still at a stalemate right there. Before we go to Caroline, I do want to get to Jason Calvi, who is our political reporter. He's here in our area talking about the effects this shutdown is having and also about, what that means for FEMA as they're here trying to help with our flooding situation. So I'm going to go to a quick break and hopefully come back with him and then just an update on where we go from here, as obviously about 750,000 federal workers could be furloughed. So this is going to be having a really, really huge impact. So stay with us on the Wisconsin Live Desk, and we'll be back momentarily.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Good Good afternoon. I'm Derica Williams, and welcome back to Wisconsin Live Desk. We were just hearing a live press briefing from the White House, hearing from Caroline Leavitt and Vice President J.D. Vance. But coming up now, I want to hear from our political reporter, Jason Calvi. Jason is standing by right now. As I mentioned earlier, this shutdown is going to cause about 750,000 federal workers to be furloughed, and about, 17,000 of those are in our area. So, Jason, thank you for joining us this afternoon. And what can you share with us on what you're focused on today?
Hey, Derica, thanks for having me on. I was just over at a FEMA disaster center, actually run by the county, Waukesha County, and I saw it was fully staffed with FEMA employees. So they are still taking applications for people that have had disaster damage. They can still go in and talk with FEMA workers that are at those county-based locations, both in Washington, Milwaukee, and Waukesha County all have these disaster recovery centers set up, and FEMA members are there staffing those to answer your questions. So those are still in operation across our area right now. Another place that we're visiting is the Social Security Administration. So you can see this is one of those, they have 3 locations in the city of Milwaukee. This one here on Capitol and about 92nd, the parking lot here is packed. So this work is continuing here. Essential operations, essential services are continuing, like Social Security, like FEMA, like the military, like the FBI. Those are all considered essential services. That work continues. But anybody who's deemed to be not essential, those people are actually not able to work today. To find out exactly what this is going to mean for those who are working and those who are not, I'm actually joined by a union representative. This is Michelle Malone, and she represents the American Federal Government Employees Union. She's the local president here in the Milwaukee area. So if you could step over here. Thank you. Thank you for being with us, Michelle. So you actually went through a shutdown. Wait for that truck to go by just in case you can't hear me. I don't want to yell at you with the truck going by here on busy Capitol. You were part of the government. You worked for the VA up until about 3 weeks ago. You went through the last shutdown in 2018. It was in December of 2018 through January of 2019. It was 5 weeks long. What did that mean? You actually were an essential worker for the VA, so you were working, but what happened? You weren't getting paid. Tell us about that.
Getting paid. You still had to figure out how you feed your family. We still had to figure out how we're going to get to work with no paycheck, or how you're going to pay your mortgage, how you're going to pay your insurance. So it's a very hardship on government employees, and we need to secure government employees right now.
So whether or not you are working or not, if you're essential or not, all of these people are not getting paid. No matter what, nobody's getting paid.
No one's getting paid. No one's getting a paycheck. But they're still has to be functional, and they still have to make sure that they can still feed their families, get to work.
I would imagine on a government salary, you're supporting a family. What happens to your mortgage payment? What happens to your rent when you've got a shutdown? The last one was 5 weeks.
I know, and you don't know what, you're going out to asking loans from friends, doing this, doing that, trying to survive your family to live through this shutdown. But I think that we really need to secure federal employees every time the government decides to shut down. This is not fair to them.
What do you say? What is your message to people in Washington? What is your message to the Republicans, to the Democrats, to the president, to everybody involved with Congress and your elected officials? What do you want them to hear from you representing the union, representing government workers here in the Milwaukee area?
Get that budget signed. Get it signed, get these people back to work and get them paid. It's very important that they get their paycheck.
When you look at, just to go over the long list of people that work for the federal government, it might be surprising, but it really touches so many parts of our lives, how many government workers. There's about 17,000 in Wisconsin. So we're talking about TSA agents that are the people checking you in at the airport, talking about air traffic control. We're talking about FBI agents. We're talking about the Social Security Administration. You yourself worked for the VA. Tell us how many different aspects of our lives here in Wisconsin are touching the lives of a federal worker as well.
Just everyone. It's going to trickle down, even though it might just seem like it's just the federal workers. No, everybody's going to feel this effect. Everybody. In their homes or, just out in the street, it's going to happen. You're going to feel it. It's not VA workers, not government workers.
So let's say you're called into work. Let's say you're a TSA officer at Mitchell and you're essential. You have to show up to work. You're not getting paid. What happens to child care? Does the government give you some benefit to provide while you're not getting paid? Is there anybody out there that is covering these costs as you're dealing with them coming in potentially?
No, there's no help for them. They get absolutely no help. You know, they have to struggle through this. And I can't just keep explaining, we need to pass this budget and we need to protect the federal workers.
One of the things that was interesting when we were talking is the food banks. There were federal workers last go around because that federal shutdown last time was 5 weeks long. It went from December through January of 2019. Workers here in this area in Wisconsin actually had to start showing up to the food bank.
Food banks, yeah. It's like she said, I would always give to food banks for other people. She said I had to literally go to the food bank to feed my family at the last shutdown. You know, I don't want to see this happen anymore. This is ridiculous. It should not be going on.
One of the things that will happen with the budget is if, once they do finally pass a budget, they will give back pay to these workers. So those people that were furloughed would conceivably get paid through back pay, as well as anybody that's actually here, the Social Security Administration, TSA, FBI, the DOD, employees as well, military employees. They're working right now as well without getting paid. They will get back pay, right?
They'll get back pay, but who knows what damage did it cause before? Because if you don't pay a bill, they don't say, oh, you can pay me next week. No, they want their money now, and that's how it works. So that's how they're not just going to give them a pass.
Michelle, I thank you so much for shedding light on this. And Derica, we are again at the Social Security Administration on Capitol and 92nd in Milwaukee. And this is one of those essential services that continues today. FEMA continuing to do their disaster recovery work as well in our 3 counties that the president declared a natural disaster for. So back to you, Derica.
Jason, thank you so much for that interview with Michelle, and just hearing from you and literally hearing from her, we're really getting an impact of what this means for the everyday person. I mean, we all pretty much are check to check, so imagine for this time not being able to get paid, like she said, pay her bills. So it's obviously going to have a familial impact, an economic impact. If I can, for a quick second, while I still have you, ask you a question. So last I understand, we had 3 votes crossover from the Democratic side. Senator J.D. Vance a short while ago just spoke about still trying to talk to Democrats today. Republicans are still at a stalemate. What are your thoughts of who's going to cross over? Is it going to cross over? We got to get to 60 somehow.
Yeah, it was interesting to see that kind of blue wall had some cracks in it in the Senate, where you had those 3 people that normally vote with the Democratic caucus voting with the Republicans last night on that spending bill. So you're seeing a little crack there in the blue wall. I know there was definitely negotiations today on the Senate floor where you saw Republicans that are potentially working with Democrats on the big issue that Democrats are bringing up, which is on health care. They're really worried about the health care premiums under Obamacare. Those really are subsidies that help lower people's premiums on the affordable care marketplaces online and under Obamacare. And so they really want to see those extended. They will expire at the end of the year in December 31st, 2025. Those premium credit tax credits are going to run out. They're going to expire. So Democrats are really pushing forward and saying that they're not going to vote for the spending bill unless it includes that attachment. Republicans said they just wanted to pass the budget to keep the government going with the current rates for the next 7 weeks, and then after the government reopens, then they can have those negotiations and those discussions about the premium tax credits. But we saw some of those discussions taking place on the Senate floor. Are there going to be more cracks potentially as you hear from people like Michelle here, who's talking for the government workers who right now, no matter what your politics are, whether you're Democrat, Republican, somewhere in the middle, these federal workers are kind of caught in the middle of those debates in Washington right now and potentially looking at what they're going to do without getting paid.
All right, Jason, thank you very much for your reporting today. This is an impasse that really could be detrimental, so hopefully we get some results soon. So I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Derica.
Thanks. All right, I do want to check back into Caroline Levitt right now. She's still taking questions at the White House briefing. Let's take a quick look right now and see where she is at.
To reopen the United States federal government because people are going without pay. You have thousands of federal workers who have to show up to work and not get paid, and that's an unfortunate situation the Democrats have put us in. Then we can discuss this very important issue of healthcare that the president absolutely wants to fix. As I mentioned yesterday, he took But those premiums do not expire until the end of the year. It's October 1st right now. And so we have a few months to have that conversation. And it's irresponsible of the Democrat Party to try to convince the American people that that conversation has to happen right now. No, what needs to happen right now is the reopening of the United States federal government. And then this administration will be happy to work with Democrats in good faith to come to a policy determination. But one red line the government has already made clear, this administration has already made clear, this administration is never going to support taxpayer-funded benefits going to illegal aliens. And we think it's despicable that that was one of the first proposals that Democrats put in their funding proposal, in their CR. The Republican CR was a clean CR that would keep the government open. Democrats have voted for it 13 times in the past. The Democrats put this poison pill in there, this partisan pill. Why? Because they are beholden to the far left radicals in their party. And you already see 3 moderate Democrats having the courage to say no. We need to keep the government open, and then we can have these conversations about health care. Mary.
Caroline, I just want to circle back to something the Vice President said about Ocasio-Cortez. I'm actually surprised it didn't come up sooner. So if Schumer is catering to the demands of Ocasio-Cortez, can you share whether the White House views this as cracks in Schumer's leadership, and would the Vice President be open to meeting with someone like her if she is assuming this role in the Democratic Party?
I'll let the Vice President speak on that himself. I think that certainly Senator Schumer was not expecting 3 moderates to break with him last night. In fact, last night you heard Senator Schumer say he can't guarantee that he will be able to hold his caucus together. And so again, we encourage Democrats to have the courage to do the right thing, do what you have done 13 times previously, and vote for this clean continuing resolution to keep the government funded. As for what the Trump administration and President Trump is going to do, we'll continue to be very public that we want the government to be open, and as the Vice President said, we'll continue to work in good faith with anyone on Capitol Hill who wants to do right by the American people. Thank you all so much. We'll see you later.
Thank you.
All right, that is Caroline Leavitt, White House press secretary, ending that press conference. Basically, Democrats are still holding firm on the health care demands as we're waiting to see what happens next. We're going to take a quick break, and we have some more at Wisconsin Live Desk of what's happening around the nation, around our area. We'll be right back.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Good afternoon on this Wednesday, October 1st. I'm Derica Williams, an anchor here at Fox 6, and I'm kind of manning the live desk today. We have lots going on. In addition to the government shutdown, there's another situation that we're dealing with here in Wisconsin where the clock and the time really mattered. It's the negotiation between United Healthcare and Ascension Wisconsin. So right now, Ascension is no longer in network with United Healthcare. This affects so many families. I know I'm even included here with this. The contract expired, and this happened at midnight without a deal. Ascension released a statement here saying Ascension Wisconsin has been engaged in negotiations with United Healthcare for several months in an effort to reach a fair and sustainable agreement that supports continued access to quality care for the United Healthcare commercial, Medicare, and Medicaid members we serve. Despite our best efforts, we are unable to come to terms that reflect the rising cost of delivering care in today's environment. As a result, effective today, October 21st, Ascension Wisconsin is no longer in network with United Healthcare. This impacts patients receiving care at our hospitals, outpatient facilities, and physician practices, as well as associated practices of Ascension Medical Group. Despite repeated efforts to reach a compromise, Ascension Wisconsin has chosen to leave our network. So this is what the statement is saying. Ascension refused our latest proposal, which would have continued to reimburse the healthcare at market competitive rates, and declined another request to extend our contract to allow additional time to negotiate. So both sides are releasing statements this morning of how they plan to continue to negotiate. We do have one of our reporters, Christina Van Zelt, who is working on this right now, trying to see what's next. If you go to their website, they do have a list of frequently asked questions. United Healthcare members are saying, if they have an active or ongoing treatment for a serious or complex condition with an Ascension provider at the time that they left the network, they want to know, are they eligible to continue care for a period of time at in-network costs? So basically they're saying yes, the continuity of care allows people in ongoing or active treatment for a serious or complex condition at the time the provider leaves our network to continue accessing care with their provider in network rates for just a period of time though. So some examples of that are people who qualify of the continuity of care include, but not limited to, women who are pregnant, patients with newly diagnosed or relapsed cancer, or those currently in an active cancer treatment. Any member who believes they are eligible for continuity of care, has questions even, or how to apply, so just give them a call, contact them with that number on your ID card. This is really tough. I know a lot of people that we spoke with are saying that, they don't want to change who their primary caregivers are. Perhaps it's, their eye doctor or something. They've been with them for years. So we're waiting to see what happens with that. Just reading some more of these frequently asked questions that, many folks are wondering about. Let's take a quick look here. So this was another comment, at least from United Healthcare. They do say, while choosing to leave the network was difficult, they want members to know they continue to have access to a broad network of hospitals and physicians throughout Wisconsin. So this is just really tough right now, as this is another impasse that we are dealing with. Ascension Wisconsin no longer in network with healthcare. So this is a huge change for folks that are going there, different practices, physicians, as well as the medical group. So we'll continue to keep you updated as those talks continue. But in the meantime, I want to talk about something else. This is kind of important too. I feel like we're starting October. October is also Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so this is something serious that I wanted to kind of talk to you about, but also ways that you guys can take part. So, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. On the 6th, we usually send out a Buddy Check 6, and it's just a reminder to do your monthly breast self-exam that goes for men and women. There are 6 of us female anchors and male anchors as well that are part of this push just to create awareness. Do your monthly breast self-check. Speaking for women, I believe it's about 1 in 3 cancer diagnosis yearly are women. So it's a serious issue. My mother is a breast cancer survivor. I had a lot myself and was able to get it checked. So it's just so important and imperative that you're able to focus on what you have to do for breast cancer awareness for yourself, but also support others if you can, because it's a journey not only that person is facing, but also their family as well. So with that being said, I want to see if you guys can join us in a couple of days. I believe it's on October 11th for the Making Strides Against Breast Cancer Walk. Now this is really, really huge. Maybe we can put up some of the details though. You can sign up now. But FOX6 and myself, we invite you to join us for the Making Strides Against Breast Cancer Awareness Walk. Of course, Mary Stoker-Smith will be out there in her pink as well. But this is just really a huge event. It's going to be held at the Meyer Festival Park right there on Milwaukee's lakefront. You can register now. And I think we have a link on our website where you can register. But really, every dollar that we raise helps make us just get to a world closer to being without breast cancer, whether it comes to the research, the support. It also provides free information and services to women who are diagnosed with the disease, and even give access to mammograms for women who need them. And that once you get to a certain age, yearly mammograms are extremely important. So once again, those details, Making Strides Against Breast Cancer, Saturday morning, October 11th at the Meyer Festival Park, and that's on the south gate of Milwaukee's lakefront. So just wanted to mention that before we move on to something else. So October, once again, I'm in a vibe for October today, right? It's feeling fall-like. I do want to talk about fall. Maybe we can grab Stephanie if she's around. There you go, Steph. Let me put your mic up because I want to talk about fall foliage. I feel like I'm starting to see a couple of leaves turn colors. Some of them are falling. Where do we stand with that? When's the best time to go look? What's the situation like? Because it really doesn't even feel like fall. It's like sunny and 75 outside.
I know. It's been such a warm stretch, and we have more of that heading into the weekend, and all across the state it's going to be warm. So I know it doesn't feel like fall, but yes, to your point, it is starting to look like fall, even here locally. Pretty much every part of the state of Wisconsin at least seeing some color. You can see kind of low color across much of central and southern Wisconsin. And this, just to give you some background here, this is actually from a company or an organization out in North Carolina. They do this for the entire country when it comes to fall foliage. So lines up pretty nicely with what Travel Wisconsin has as well. We get updates twice a week from this organization. So it makes it a little easier for us to more so pinpoint the areas that are seeing some color. But up north, of course, seeing more color than those of us down south. Early October is when northern Wisconsin sees its peak for fall foliage. So if you want to get up north, this is the weekend to do that. Now, we still have more time for central and southern Wisconsin, but certainly the next couple of weekends, if you want to start creeping your way northward, you're going to see more color. I have seen pictures of pretty vibrant colors across central and especially northern Wisconsin too. So I would say if it's on your docket, don't wait. This weekend, next weekend, great time to do so, especially with the fact that we have dry weather. It's kind of tricky because when it comes to those vibrant colors, we don't want drought conditions, and we don't technically have them right now, but we obviously are on a pretty dry stretch. But then it's also tricky when we have rain because it can pull the leaves down. So it's kind of tricky when it comes to holding that season a little bit longer. But even here in southern Wisconsin, again, seeing some low color. We're really going to start to see a lot more, though, in the next week or two. Our peak fall foliage near Lake Michigan and across much of our area is actually late in the month of October, so we still have some time. And while I have you, let's talk some climate stats. Why not, right? It is October 1st, big transition month, just like what we saw during September, but a little bit more dramatic, we'll say. When it comes to our normals, we go from a normal high today of 68, but by Halloween, the normal high is only in the mid-50s. Normal low starts at 50 tonight. Our low tonight is going to be way warmer than that. But by the end of the month, the normal is in the upper 30s. Still very normal to have 80s during the month of October. In fact, the latest day during October that we've had an 80-degree temperature was on Halloween in the past. So all throughout the month, we can still see warmth. It is also interesting, though, that 89 is our warmest temperature ever recorded during the month of October. We've never hit 90 during the month of October. So we'll see. I mean, this weekend, we've got forecast highs in the mid-80s. That's getting pretty close. So we will absolutely see. And on the opposite end, too, I might as well add, we also sometimes see snow during the month of October, but no signs of that in the next couple of weeks. That is for sure. Recapping September, no huge stats for you here. It was the 37th warmest. Remember, we still started the month a bit on the cool side, and only the 119th driest. So even though we're in the midst of a dry trend right now, we did pick up over 1.5 inches of rainfall, primarily the first half of the month. Warmest temperature so far, 85 degrees, or last month, 85 degrees. We've got more mid-80s, of course, in our extended forecast. So really watching, Derica, the next couple of days, because this is just way, way warmer than what it should be for October.
After like the cold Labor Day that we had, I thought we were done.
I know, me too.
And then these past couple of weeks have been absolutely gorgeous. This week, 86. I feel like I want to barbecue and bring back a little bit of summer, right?
I know. I saw that the Slinger splash pad is up and running still, and that was the best thing to see on social media, because now I'm like, do I bring my kids to a splash pad at the beginning of October?
And it's so funny. We went apple picking last week, and you know how you do with kids. You're always taking pictures, right? But then your phone reminds you of like your last couple of years of apple picking, and it's so funny to see. One year we're like bundled up.
Oh, yeah.
1 year it's like you're in shorts. So it's just funny how year by year it's like you never know what October is going to bring.
I know. It's just every fall day is different.
All right, Steph, thanks again.
Yeah,
and
no problem.
I love your haircut. So cute.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
you.
Talk to you later. All right, let's take a quick break right now from Wisconsin Live Desk, and we'll
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
All right, I'm Derica Williams on the Wisconsin Live Desk today. Thanks for watching and kind of sticking around with us, whether it's, on your phone, on the computer, on your Roku TV, or whatever it is. I love that Wisconsin Live Desk. You can pretty much get wherever you're at mobily, and also just see what's going on everywhere. It's pretty cool. If you're new to Wisconsin Live Desk, what we do is we have really a lot of access to different things happening throughout the country, throughout our area. We can just pull them up, see what's happening, and just inform you to see what's going on. Sometimes we talk with some of our reporters, like we did with Jason Calvi earlier today, just to see what they're working on and get a little insight and sometimes a little bit more information, because we're able to hear a full interview and not just like the little snippet like we just heard from Jason as he spoke with one of the federal workers talking about how they were going to be impacted. So thanks for joining us. And on this October 1st, I'm in all things October right now. I do want to mention that the city of Milwaukee has now had their leaf collection reminders that they're having out right now. So they say keep piles away from sewer grates. They want you to rake 1 foot away from the curb. yard and garden waste can go on top of the leaf piles, and the final sweep is November 15th. They say no special request for leaf collection is necessary until they have completed all of the collections of their route after leaf rakeout. So basically, the leaf collection operations cycle through the city systematically beginning mid-October. So once leaf rakeout ends, then DPW will make that final collection sweep across the city. So once again, to be collected, make sure that the leaves are out and raked out there by the deadline. Leaves raked after the deadline will not be collected. They anticipate basically the route taking about 1 to 3 business days. So they also give some tips of getting your leaves into the street and park your vehicles away from the pile as much as possible. And if you go to their website, it's pretty cool. They have like it color coded. So the yellow area means it's a pickup of curbside piles that have begun, and they're kind of consolidating them into larger piles for pickup. The orange means that they are picking up the larger piles that they made in the area. And then red is showing you where that they have completed the collection after the December 1st rake leaf out deadline. So after that, those leaves rake will not be collected. If your route is red and they missed your leaf pile, you can call that center 414-286-CITY. That's 2489. So that's pretty cool. Oh, you know what? I always wonder what happens to the leaves, right, when they collect them all. So leaves are actually taken to the waste management compost site where Purple Cow Organics manages the material for 4 to 6 months. And then they create like a rich compost. The compost is then sold locally. If you guys don't know, compost is a natural fertilizer that returns the nutrients into the soil and improves its ability to absorb rainwater and keeps valuable resources out of the landfill. So there's that. So there's some more right here, just taking a quick look. So once again, do not place on your curb or lawn. Do it between streets and sidewalks. Please, guys, don't place them in the alleys. You don't want to cause a mess out there. So keep the brush also out of leaf piles. I know a lot of people are trying to clear the brush ahead of the winter months, but please, keep that in mind. The final sweep will be November 30th. So as we were talking leaves with Stephanie right now, that's a good reminder as we're starting to see some of them fall. But once again, besides being, fall, hot, leaves falling, the other big news that we're continuing to follow is the government shutdown. And I do think House Democrats are starting to discuss the government shutdown. I do want to pop in there and get some more information as we're learning to see how we can get past this impasse. When I do come back, we may have Ted Perry hop in. So if you don't see me, that's the reason why. But let me just go over to that right now.
They're fighting for their billionaire donors, their friends and family plan, which has been all about enriching the lifestyles of the rich and shameless from the very beginning of the Trump administration. So all this talk that we see right now, as if it has anything to do with the shutdown that Republicans have caused, no, it's their ideology. Cruelty is the point when it comes to the Republican Party.
Are they really expecting us to believe that the strategy that they are employing, that they're already making life in this country for working Americans harder and more expensive, that the answer is you shut down government and make life harder and more expensive? That is insane. But that is the argument that they're putting out there. And we just have to base this in reality and facts. They want to talk now about the WIC program. You want to talk now about pregnant women and newborns when 40% of births in this country are covered by Medicaid. They want to say to pregnant women who in a third of the counties, because of their policies, no longer have access to OBGYNs, no longer have access to safe prenatal care and delivery. Now we care about you. Women of America understand exactly how they feel about us and our children. The moms that I've been talking to are so scared they may not be able to get the Medicaid funding they need. We heard from Teresa yesterday, who talked about her 2 autistic sons. She's a single mom. She had to quit her job. in order to care for them full time. Without Medicaid, she has no idea what she will do. And these stories are repeated over and over. In my own district, a young adult named Sydney, her mom wrote to me and said she has such profound disabilities, but Medicaid is connecting her to the world through cochlear implants, through medication, for medication that she needs not only to survive, but to have some connection, which she has found through what she has been able to restore of her hearing to music. Without Medicaid, there is no plan B for these moms and for their children. So you can save it. You can save it, Speaker Johnson, that now you are coming in and that you care about feeding hungry children, that you care that they have what they need for preventative health care, that you care about pregnant women and that they can have a safe and healthy delivery for their children. Spare us.
Yeah.
The shutdown gives Republicans an opportunity to eliminate bloated, unnecessary federal programs that they'd like to vote down but don't have to vote through the Senate. Quote, very harm to real Americans, but ultimately could be a benefit to the country for taxpayers if in this process we can get rid of some of the government fat. What's your response to this, Speaker?
Everything that Donald Trump has said about the government shutting down, everything that Mike Johnson has said about the government shutting down, everything that the Trump administration has said about the government shutting down confirms the fact that Republicans are delighted to have shut down the government. Why? Because they want to continue to hurt everyday Americans. They want to continue to hurt children and families and women and hard-working American taxpayers. And certainly they want to continue to hurt civil servants who in many cases have served this country well, including in uniform, for decades. And the Trump administration and Mike Johnson and Donald Trump could care less because cruelty is the point for them, and it's all about rewarding their billionaire donors in every way possible. Democrats are holding firm because we're standing up for the health care of everyday Americans. We're going to do that today. We're going to do that tomorrow. We're going to do that this week. We're going to do that next week. We're going to do that until this issue is resolved and we address the Republican health care crisis because it's crushing the American people. Yes. Thanks. You got it.
With no Senate looking to budge at the moment, how long do you reckon this shutdown will go on?
We're here in Washington, D.C. The House Democratic leader, the whip, the chair of the caucus. We've been here all week. Republicans are missing in action, nowhere to be found, on vacation, scattered across the country and the world, spewing lies and articulating the Democratic position, but they don't even have the guts to be on Capitol Hill and debate us face to face. They don't even have the guts to do that because they know there's no merit to the Republican position. And it's one of the reasons why, subsequent to that White House meeting, it's been radio silence from the Republicans.
Do you think this will go longer than the previous shutdown, though?
I think all of us, we're here, certainly Catherine and I, we're here for the shutdown that took place in 2013. It was a 14-day government shutdown until Republicans finally came to their senses that they did not have public support for the cruelty they were inflicting on the American people and then engaged in an unconditional surrender. Donald Trump presided over a 35-day government shutdown. All of us were here at the time, just entering into Democratic leadership. And then finally, Republicans realized the insanity of their position, and after 35 days, the government was reopened, and they engaged in an unconditional surrender. At this particular time, what we're fighting for is to protect the health care of the American people, which has been under relentless assault. These aren't facts and figures. This is about real Americans who've already been hurt by the relentless Republican assault on their health care. And now they're asking Democrats to participate in doing more damage to the quality of life of everyday Americans. And we're not interested. Just like not a single Democrat voted for the one big ugly bill that enacted the largest cut to Medicaid in American history, Democrats will not participate in the Republican effort to continue to gut the health care of the American people. Vice President Vance says he wants to have a conversation. We're ready to have a conversation with any high-level member of the Trump administration. They just have to be prepared to act in good faith. Not to talk about it, but to be about it, which means canceling the cuts, lowering the costs, saving the health care of the American people. Let me let Pete Aguilar get in.
The American people are focused on this. They support our efforts to protect their health care funding. While J.D. Vance continues to spew lies, while Republicans are scattered across the country, we're here. As the leader mentioned, we're here ready to negotiate, ready to discuss and debate, how we get out of this shutdown. This is a Republican-led shutdown, all because they have an inability to deal with the healthcare crisis and the affordability crisis that Americans are going through. That's what this is about. And the American people are supportive of this, and it's a shame that they continue to use every lever they can to extract pain. But to your question, Nicole, infrastructure jobs being affected, thousands of people potentially laid off. I'm guessing a lot of those people might live in New Jersey too. A lot of those workers who could be laid off. And folks in New Jersey will have a choice in 30 days. Do they want someone running for governor who supports Donald Trump, who supports delaying these infrastructure projects, or do they not? Those are some choices that employees will have to make and that working families will have to make. And I trust that they're going to make the right decision.
It's very important.
Hi, everybody. Ted Perry here.
Question,
Just want to let you know you're watching the House Democrats.
The appropriations effort is being led in an incredible way on our side by Rosa DeLauro.
This is Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries.
Partnering with Patty Murray on the Senate side. And House and Senate Democrats have been clear, including in our conversation with President Trump on Monday, that we want to reach an agreement in good faith to make sure that the government is funded and that we do it in a way that lifts up the quality of life of the American people. But we also have to make sure that if we reach an agreement that has bipartisan support in the House and in the Senate, is signed into law by President Trump, that the administration can't then come behind that agreement and in a partisan way undo funding for programs and for support that matters to the American people. And we've articulated that to them very clearly, and also laid out that in the Democratic continuing resolution that would keep the government open for 30 days, that resolution can be passed right now. The reason why Republicans consistently have voted it down is because the Democratic spending bill actually supports the health care of the American people, and Republicans are consistently voting to undermine the health care of the American people. Yep. Yep. we are not thinking about its impact on the midterm elections.
Okay, you've been watching reaction to the government shutdown from House Democrats. That was Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader in the House, talking about Democrats and having a united, mostly united, not entirely. I should point out that one Democratic senator joined with Republicans last night in the vote. But we will continue to monitor that and have more on Fox 6 News at 4 and 5. Right now we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're talking Brewers baseball, Game 1 of the National NLDS, the National League Division Series, coming up on Saturday. A very special guest coming up to talk Brewers baseball. I'm excited to be talking to him, and I hope you will. And we'll talk to him on the other side of a quick break. You're watching the Wisconsin Live Desk on Fox Local.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
And we are back at 1:36 on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Ted Perry with you, and a very special guest coming your way. Let's bring him in right away. The pride of St. Catharines of Racine, on the UW Lacrosse Wall of Fame, former Brewer, former Indian, former Dodger. Who am I missing? Seattle?
Marlins.
Marlins?
And I'm forgetting now. I played over in Japan and Korea as well. So
There you go.
I bounced all around, yeah.
But he's also a former Brewer, and he is Vinny Rattino, who is part, of course, of the Brewers broadcast team. And I'm going to sound like a total suck up here, but I think, and I don't get to listen to a lot of other local broadcasts, but we have, I think, the finest broadcast team, even with the departure of the late, great Bob Uecker. Watching you on FanDuel with Rock and Tim and Sophia and Brian and Jeff, of course. I hope I'm not leaving anyone out. It's kind of fun. You guys mix and match or different combinations. Sometimes you're pre and post. Sometimes you're the in-game analysis. Do you prefer one over the other?
I love doing the color in the booth, and the fact that Rock has been doing it for 31 years. I don't think there's anyone better than Rock in the business. And then, I get to kind of be a backup to him a little bit. It's been so much fun, and just learning from Rock. That is the most fun, doing the color in-game analysis and kind of reacting to how the game unfolds.
And again, I'm just going to say you're really good at it. I love.
Thanks.
And my fishing buddies. I'm from Baraboo, and we go fishing every year. And we sit around, we talk Brewer baseball, and the praise for you earlier. I guess we're in October now. During our September fishing trip, people were really praising you. So I just thought, with 7 guys from Baraboo, you're very popular. So that's something anyway, right?
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate that.
You don't get to broadcast the postseason, though, and you're a girl dad, right? You got 3 young girls.
Yeah.
Here's the analogy I make, and tell me if I'm right. This is like you helping them with their homework every night of the year, but you don't get to go to graduation.
It feels like that. It does. It's hard to watch and not be a part of the broadcasts for the playoffs, but at the same time, the national broadcasters do take over at this point, and it is awesome to see. And hopefully the Brewers have a deep run, and so the Brewers can be put on the map for the best, hopefully, when all things are said and done at the end of this month, when all the pieces fall into place. Actually, it'll go into November if they win the World Series. So hopefully everyone can see how good the organization is, how good the Brewers have been this year. Quite frankly, Ted, it's been the last 7 years, right? How good this team and the organization has been going to the playoffs in 7 of the last 8 years. So it's hopefully a long run, but it is hard to, kind of put it aside and just watch as a fan at this point. But it also is, a good thing to do as well. It was a great year. It was a great year to be a broadcaster and to kind of give the fans some content as to, kind of cover the team. It's been so much fun. But yeah, hopefully they can have this deep run in October.
You mentioned the Game 7 of the World Series would be on November 1st. So we'll see if there is a Mr. November a la Derek Jeter for the Yankees was re-nicknamed Mr. November because of his heroics in Game 7 that spilled over into the 11th month. Let me ask you, I know you must hate these kind of questions, but their chances good? I mean, they're obviously the most wins in baseball, but they've also really struggled in the first round with the exception of 2018. How do you get that monkey off your back if you're a player, if you're an organization, and if you're the skipper, Pat Murphy? What are you telling these guys?
Well, remember too, Ted, that they've been bounced out of the playoffs the last couple of times that they've been in because of the wild card round. And the Brewers had the best record, the #1 seed in all of baseball. And so what the benefit of that is they will actually skip that first round, that wild card series. That is actually going on right now. That's Game 2 is today for the rest of the teams in that series. And so they'll get to skip that. And their first game will be in the NLDS against the winner of either the Cubs or the Padres. And so how do you go for a deep run? How do you win some playoff games? And I think just what Pat Murphy said, this team has continued to do the unexpected all year long. No one expected this team to win 97 games. Ted, no one expected this team to win even 81 games, believe it or not. They were picked to finish 3rd in the division, and they just outdid all the expectations. And I think the rest of the fans expect, and Pat Murphy expects, and the organization expects that this team does make a deep run into the playoffs and get past at least that first round, the NLDS, make some noise in the NLCS. We'll see who that is against. I'm rooting for the Brewers to play the Cubs in this first series, because think about it, Ted, what that would mean to the organization, what that would mean to the team and to the fans and to the state if they can actually knock out the Cubs in that first round that they play in starting Saturday, Game 1. I think that would mean a lot to everybody, and I think they would carry that momentum forward through the rest of the playoffs.
That would be pretty joyous. But we would also want the Cubs' arms to be as tired as possible. So that means we're rooting for the Padres today. We want that best of 3 series to go 3 games so they come in with fewer options on who to throw in Game 1, yeah?
That's a great point. That is a great point, yes. So go ahead and wear out that bullpen. Hopefully the Padres can come and win tonight or win today, and then you're right, have the Cubs kind of wear out their bullpen, and then they would have to play the Brewers. They would get 1 day off, so they would play, let's see, today's Wednesday. They would play again Thursday. They would have 1 day off Friday to rest up some of their arms, but then they would go ahead and play at American Family Field on Saturday, October 4th. And so that is a great point. Go ahead and wear whoever it is. Honestly, if it's the Padres or the Cubs, you're kind of hoping for that one to go 3 games.
Right.
But again, I'm pulling a little bit for the Cubs.
That would be fun to watch for sure. I think back to the end of May when they were 25 and 28, and they just come off a series with the Twins. And Christian Yelich, in sort of a Aaron Rodgers relaxed moment, I remember him saying in a post-game interview, we got 4 months of the season left. He did not say the words relax, but he said we got June, July, August, and September. And you're thinking, okay, sure. But that's when it hit. June came, July came. At what point did you say, whoa, something's going on here?
Yeah, Pat Murphy challenged the group after that series, or before that series with the Twins. Remember, the Twins came in, they won 13 games in a row, and Freddie Peralta played the stopper for the, keeping the Twins from winning that 14th game in a row. He challenged the team before that to find their edge. They were missing their edge. They were playing sloppy baseball. They were not scoring runs. They were last in all of baseball in batting average. They just were not scoring. The offense was totally anemic. Their defense was a little sloppy. Pat Murphy challenged the group like he knows how to do. He knows how to push the right buttons with that group, and they did. And like you said, even Christian Yelich said, hey, look, there's a long season left. We have to find our identity, and man, they did. They've been hitting on all cylinders, all aspects of the game, between the offense, the base running, the defense, and of course the pitching. Both the starting pitching and the bullpen has been performing exceptionally well ever since then. Have the best record in baseball, overall on the season. But really, it was that May 18th date where they really just surged, and they really haven't looked back. I would say this last month of the season, September, they took a little bit of a step back. But I think they were tired. I think this team needed this little break, and they're going to go out and show out in front of the fans at American Family Field starting on Saturday, and I don't think they're going to look back. I think this is the year, Ted.
Take off your broadcaster mic and put on your player's uniform again. You talked about Pat Murphy. What is it about this guy, the reigning National League Manager of the Year? And frankly, if anyone but him, or I might argue Terry Francona for letting the Reds sneak in there, but I got to think he's the runaway manager of the year again in the National League. As a former player, what do you see in him that gets he squeezes the last bit of talent out of these guys.
You're right, he does. And he has such a masterful way to make sure that the guys are being held accountable, but at the same time keeping it loose in the clubhouse. That is such a hard needle to thread. I've played for managers before where they would just blow off losses like it just didn't matter. And you have to have some of that, but not too much. You have to make sure that losing is uncomfortable to the group. And he made it so, right? Like I said, he challenged the group in mid-May to find their identity, to find that edge, and he did it. And he just continually messages to the group, win tonight. And if you have that momentum going where you're going to win tonight and you stack up wins on top of each other, all of a sudden winning becomes the norm. And that is what it's felt like as an onlooker, as a guy that's covered this team for the majority of the season, for the entire season. That's what it feels like. It feels like winning is the norm. Winning is comfortable and losing is uncomfortable. And that's really all it is. But it is so easier said than done. Very difficult to do, to thread that needle, because he talks about it all the time. You don't want to squeeze the egg too tight, right? Otherwise it'll break. So you definitely have to have some give and take. He's so funny and he keeps it so loose, but at the same time, he also, think about the pocket pancake bit that he loves to talk about. But he also just, again, he keeps it loose, but he also holds the guys accountable. And that's the magic formula for Pat Murphy. So much easier said than done. He's got the experience. He's got so many years under his belt in coaching, and he knows how to push the right buttons.
And we did a fun segment with him many times this year called I'd Like to Speak to the Manager, in which I brought viewer questions to him, and he answered those questions. And a lot of people wanted to talk about leadership because they're really fascinated by his leadership style. I think in the offseason, he could make 50 grand a pop talking to corporations because of this. And he talks about being genuine. You got it. He calls them necessary conversations. Doesn't call them tough conversations. He says they're necessary conversations. And if you're authentic and genuine and you correct someone, is that what players want to hear? They want to hear an honest critique.
Well, the reason why that comes off so well with Pat Murphy, and you're right, he is one of a kind in terms of his leadership skills and abilities and attributes, is because he cares so much, and that sticks out like a sore thumb to the guys in the clubhouse. I played guys; they're all over the game. There's guys out there that really are in it for themselves and want to be self-serving, and that is the epitome of what not a leader is, right? And a great leader is someone that is serving to others and constantly thinking about others, how he can help other players, how he can help other people and elevate their life, not only their careers, but their lives, their personal lives. And it comes off again as so authentic with Pat Murphy because it is. He truly does care. And that's how he gets so much buy-in. And that's how he is so effective in his leadership and his ability to kind of motivate a group. It is just so effective. He's one of a kind. He's one of the best I've ever seen at it, maybe the best. It's so much fun to hear him motivate the group. And he does so in such a masterful way. He's so skilled at it. He does it in subtle ways. He's got a notebook where he writes little things down, little cues down for each player. And again, because he cares so much about each player, he knows how to push that player's buttons. And it could be a different button that he's got to push to one guy than it is for another guy. And so that's why he's so effective. And it's so much, we can all learn from it, really. I mean, because baseball is a lot like life, and he cares so much about his players and the guys around him.
He's going to treat the Big Woo a lot different than he's going to treat Sal Frelick. He loves to make Sal, he loves to just, whip on Sal a little bit, and he jokes about that. Let me ask you this. This week-long break, I know that they're trying to do game simulations. Good thing or bad thing to have this week off? I know they got some injuries. We talked about Brandon Woodruff. But baseball's an everyday game. This isn't football where a week off you can rest some bones. Good thing or bad thing to have that week off? I mean, it is what it is, but as a player, what would you have preferred?
It's a double-edged sword. We see it every year where the 6th seed kind of sneaks in on the last day, and Pat Murphy's talked about this, where the 6th seed in the playoffs, the last seeded team sneaks in on the last day, and they play great baseball up until that last day, and then they carry that momentum through into the playoffs, where again, there's so much sense of urgency among a group like that, where they carry that momentum in and they use that momentum in the playoffs. So the Brewers aren't going to have that, right? They kind of limped into the playoffs. Again, didn't play that well, lost 2 out of 3 to the Reds to finish up the season, and now they have this layoff. But at the same time, again, I think this group is a special group where they're going to rally around each other when those bright lights go on. And it is important that they have home field advantage throughout the playoffs as well, because, again, they feed off that energy from the fans. The best fans of baseball at American Family Field in Milwaukee, around the state, coming in droves to support the team. They do feed off that. I talked to Freddie Peralta. I talked to Carlos Villanueva, who was around the team all the time, and he really mentors Freddie Peralta. And Freddie Peralta said to Carlos, who then relayed that to me, that that is a factor for Freddie Peralta. That's why he's pitched so well at home. He's the #1 pitcher in all of baseball pitching at home. Freddie Peralta is because of the energy that he feeds off the team. I think the rest of the group is going to do the same thing, despite having the 5 days off. They're going to do the same thing once those lights go on, once that first pitch is thrown, and they can feel the vibes and the energy in the stadium. They're going to take off. And I do believe that. I think this, again, because of that home field advantage, they're gonna go ahead and do it. This is the year, Ted, and I've been saying this for a while now.
From your lips to God's ears. I know Adam McCalvey tweeted out just a little bit ago that if the Yankees win, that might put the Brewers with the early game on Saturday. If the Red Sox win, it looks like the Brewers would play the late game. That is just the speculation at this part, but Adam McCalvey, who certainly knows his stuff, is putting the tea leaves together. 2 more quick questions. Which player on this team do you see yourself in? Is it a Caleb Durham who's from the area like you were from? Is it a Sal Frelick? We know what kind of player. You would have fit in perfectly on this team. Scrappy, hungry, knowing that you didn't go to the Tennessee, the Ole Miss, the Florida. You came from UWL, which is a great school and great athletic program, but it's not a major player, right? So you felt you always had to prove yourself. Who do you see in this team that is your kindred spirit?
Oh, that's quite flattering. I mean, that's kind of how I played. And Pat Murphy talks about the guys on this team. They're all cliffhangers, meaning they're all hanging on to the big leagues, with their scraping and clawing and hanging on barely by their fingertips. And that's the kind of player that I was. I loved competing. There's a lot of guys on this team that have similar attributes, just the love to compete, the love to play for each other, the love to fight and scrap and claw. I would kind of see myself maybe a little bit like Andrew Monasterio, right? My brother from another mother in the Dominican Republic. Like, this is a great guy. He's a great player. He's a bench guy. I was kind of a bench guy, a role player type of a player. And so I would probably see myself like him, always a smile on his face. I loved every single day that I got a chance to put on the uniform. That's the same thing. Really, it's all the entire group, but it really comes through pretty brightly with Andrew, with his ability. Just even if he's not playing, he could be 4 for 4 and then benched the next day, and he still has a smile on his face. He's playing for the team. I'd like to think of myself as a kind of guy like that, but Andrew is he's a special player, and I'd like to think of myself similarly.
And finally, where are you going to be Saturday? I'm sure you'll be at the ballpark, but you're not broadcasting. You get to sort of watch as a fan. That's going to be different from you. Or are you going to sit with the crew and just almost pretend you're on air and talk like that? Or are you going to be with your wife Maggie and the girls? Or how are you going to do this?
Yeah, I watch so many games from either the broadcast booth or up in the press box, and I'm working and trying to figure out a way to kind of bring some content about the game to fans. And, I think last year we watched the games, the 3 playoff games from home, and I watched them with my family. I might do that again. We'll see. I would say if the team makes it to the World Series, I would probably be at the ballpark for those for sure. But we'll see what happens. I like watching it with Maggie and the girls, though.
Okay, I love that. And finally, can I ask you a stupid fan question that I've always wondered? When you've played for the organizations that you've played for, and then you're released or you move on as a free agent, whatever, do you get to keep the uniform? Like, do you have in your man cave all the uniforms that you've played for? Or do they say, give everything back and get out?
The big league uniforms I kept. The minor league uniforms you had to give back. So I definitely have all the big league uniforms, and yeah, I kept those for sure. They're in my man cave.
They should be. I asked for 10 minutes. I took 20 because you're so good, Vinny. I appreciate it so much. It's an honor to talk to you. Thank you for a great season. For us fans who watched you and listened to you and learned from you. That's the important thing as an analyst. I learned so much. So thank you, and I hope you are right that this is the year.
This is your thanks, Ted. That's flattering very much. And I'm honored to chat with you as well.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and go Crew. All right. Very good. That is the great Vinny Rottino, who's part of the Brewers FanDuel broadcast. Love talking to him. So glad we could have him on. We're going to take a short break here on Wisconsin Live Desk, and when we come back, we're going to talk. I wish we could talk baseball for the hour, but we got to talk about some other things that are going on, including a conflict between a major healthcare provider and a major insurance company that's affecting a lot of us. And I include us in that. So we'll talk about that when we come back here on Wisconsin Live Desk. It is 1:56. We'll see you in a short break.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to Hour 2 of Wisconsin Live Desk. I'm Ted Perry, and my microphone is way too hot, and that's my fault. So I'm going to bring it down there. Sorry about that. 158, 70 degrees on October 1st on this string of weather that we've had that's been absolutely remarkable. Chief Meteorologist Tom Walk says it will definitely continue into the weekend. So if you're heading out to American Family Field, I assume we're going to be dealing with an open roof situation, but don't take my word for it. If you go on the Brewers website, you can find a roof hotline for every game. It's really helpful to planning on what you're going to wear. Am I going to wear my Brewers t-shirt? Am I going to wear my Brewers sweatshirt? Again, it's going to depend if it's a day game or a night game, of course, but on the Brewers website, there is a number that you can call to get an update on what the roof situation will be. We hope it's open. It's going to be beautiful. But also they want to make sure they get a game in, so sometimes they might close it for that. All right. Like I said, I wish we could talk Brewer baseball, but there's some more serious things we need to talk about, including the health care insurance coverage for so many of you watching right now and so many people across the state of Wisconsin. There has been, as you know, if you've been watching our news, an ongoing conflict between United Healthcare and Ascension Healthcare Systems in terms of reimbursement, how much the Ascension is going to get reimbursed from United Healthcare, and back and forth on that. I know who can explain this a lot better than me, and that is our own Christina Van Zelst, who has been covering this story and joins us from the newsroom. We had a deadline last night. We had two major deadlines last night. We had the one in Washington, which was not met. Well, I guess it was met because they decided to shut the government down. We'll put that aside for a second. Let's talk about what's going on with Ascension and United Healthcare. And whoever's walking in front of the camera, they're telling them to stop walking in front of the camera because we're on right now. Take it away. Tell us what's going on there.
Ben just said apologies, by the way.
Okay, of course.
Yeah, so Ted, as you mentioned, there was that deadline at midnight for Ascension and United Healthcare to come to an agreement. That did not happen. So the big question today is, what does this mean if you are somebody who has United Healthcare and uses Ascension for your healthcare provider? A lot of uncertainty here. There is some good news, though. We talked to some insurance experts today, and they shared some tips on what you can do. The one thing they said is don't do anything rash at this moment. Even though that October 1st deadline did already go by, they could still come to an agreement, and this could all be settled. Obviously, that's not what we're dealing with right at this moment, but the two experts I talked to do think that hopefully by the end of the year, at the very latest, they will come to some sort of agreement. The two people we talked to said both sides just have too much to lose if they do not come to terms with a contract. So want to share some tips with you if you're watching and kind of panicking in this uncertain time. There's some good news. A lot of employers will have their open enrollment coming up here in November. So if you can wait and maybe use that time to shop around with different insurance options, that could work for you instead of trying to figure out something now. Just see what your employer might offer. You can also talk to your HR. Some other tips is trying to call Ascension and asking, how much is this going to cost me if I am paying out of network now? And that can be hard. One of the experts says a lot of times hospitals have a challenge just coming up with a price, but if you can do a little homework and make that phone call, obviously it's not ideal, but try to get an estimate of what your visit might cost you. That's something you can do in the short term. But this, Ted, is affecting tens of thousands of people across Wisconsin. Obviously, these are two big players in the healthcare system. So best case scenario, they continue to discuss and come to an agreement. Both sides have told us that they are open to the discussion.
Right.
So we'll see what happens. But that's some advice, I guess, if you're wondering, what do I do today?
But it's sometimes, I mean, our healthcare, for example, and I don't know if you're on it, but I'm on our FOX6 Healthcare. That is United Health. I mean, so it's difficult to go find another insurance carrier unless you're going to go, independent and shop around like that. Are they also suggesting that maybe, and I'm not trying to give a plug to Aurora, but if you say, I need a dermatologist at Ascension, I'll use my example. My dermatologist is with Ascension. If I can't reach an agreement and have to pay out of pocket, I'm going to start looking at Aurora's dermatologist because they do have that agreement going with United Healthcare. Are the experts saying you might have to doctor shop as well?
Yeah, that is essentially what they're saying. And Ted, just you mentioned with our insurance here, I actually, for example, 2 employees here, I'm on Aetna, so there are options for people. I think that's another point they wanted to make, is to shop around and do a little bit of research with how the healthcare system works. One thing they did say is both of the experts we talked to agree that no matter what happens here, if they come to an agreement, this is just going to ultimately cost us patients essentially a higher premium. So that's the outcome that's happened in other states where you've had these standoffs between health care and the insurance companies. So ultimately this might cost people more in the long term too. But yeah, they are saying that essentially if going to another doctor is in network for you, that might be something to look into. Of course, that's a challenge though when families have had the same healthcare provider for years.
Absolutely.
You have that relationship with the doctor that you don't want to switch who you've been seeing for years.
Okay, let's say hypothetically, I'll use my example again. Let's say I have an appointment with my dermatologist at Ascension tomorrow. Do I cancel it? Do I go to it? Do I call and say, is this going to cost me, or will this be retroactively covered? What's the advice for a person who's got an appointment in the next day or two?
That is a big question. I asked the same thing, and the number one piece of advice those 2 experts I talked to said is to call ahead and ask Ascension, what is this going to cost? If it's something that maybe isn't urgent, to reschedule, although we know how that can go too. Some of these doctor's appointments take a year just to schedule to get into. So first things first, try to call, see what it'll cost. If it's something that's important to you, that maybe the cost outweighs the priority of getting in, that's kind of case-by-case basis with each patient and what they prefer. But yeah, if you can call and get a hold of somebody, I'm sure their phone lines are ringing off the hook today with patients who are scheduled with anything across the board. So try to get a price estimate. That's their best advice,
okay,
which isn't always easy.
Final question, because I know you got some reporting to do, and I'll let you go after this, but please tell me they're talking. Please tell me there's some negotiation. What is happening today to resolve this dispute?
Yeah, so we got statements from both Ascension and United Healthcare, and in those statements, they both said that both sides are open to continuing this discussion. And as one of the experts said that we've seen in other states with these standoffs, they do eventually come to some sort of agreement that ultimately ends up in higher premiums for patients. However, this doesn't seem like the deadline, and I'm doing air quotes because that's one of the experts said, that we had this deadline October 1st. They appear to still be in discussions, but just cannot come to an agreement today. Hopefully that changes. They have pretty much until the end of the year when that enrollment ends, and then your new enrollment starts January 1st. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, we're staying on this, and best case scenario, they come to an agreement.
All right, you got reports coming up, what, 4, 5, 6, when?
Yep, we'll have 4, 5, and 6.
Okay.
Obviously, a lot more information from those 2 experts we talked to with some advice as well.
All right, we'll let you go so you can update our viewers on that. Christina Venzels, thank you for the time and shedding some light and explaining the conflict here between these 2, I would say these 2 powerhouses, really. So hopefully they can get the job done. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Ted.
All right, Christina Venzels joining us from the Fox 6 newsroom with a brief cameo appearance there. That blur was our own Ben Handelman walking by. So 206, 70 degrees right now. What I'm going to do is take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to take you around the horn, see what's happening locally and across the nation. But you are watching Wisconsin Live Desk 206 on a beautiful first day of October. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. 209, 70 degrees here on a beautiful first day of October. Let's take you inside. We'd like to stay outside, but we're going to take a look at the Senate floor here, where we're not sure how much is happening to get the negotiations started on the government shutdown, the first government shutdown since 2019. The Senate voted, of course, last night on whether to reopen the government. Democrats holding firm against a Republican plan that would have extended the funding of the government until November 21st. Democrats said, no, we want to add some provisions. We want to make sure that part of the Obamacare premiums are a part of this. Republicans said, no, we want to pass a clean continuing resolution. And in the end, one Senate Democrat joined with Republicans. Neither had 60 to get their way entirely. So that means at midnight last night, the government came to a screeching halt, or parts of it anyway. But there are a lot of things affected by the shutdown. And obviously, you're not going to see, you might not feel it at all, to be honest with you. You might feel some of it if you are a government worker. Of course you are feeling it if there's someone in your family who is. But you're still going to get your mail today. There's still going to be TSA at the airport. There's still going to be the military. So, yeah, this is an interesting moment in history. This happens often, not that often, but often enough to frustrate people. And it remains to be seen who the American people are going to blame for this. Will it be Republicans? Will it be Democrats? We'll find that out going. There will be polls, of course. And speaking of polls, the latest Marquette approval poll that was out, the latest Marquette poll, national survey shows approval of President Trump's overall job performance in September stands at 43%, disapproval at 57%. This is, again, from the latest Marquette poll. The latest approval ratings continue a series of small declines since the president took office. 48% approved, 52% disapproved at the time. But for Republicans, good news here, approval remains strong at 81%. So this is the latest Marquette poll, which we'll have more on the FOX6 News broadcast side. But I always find it interesting to talk about that a little bit. And it's been a pretty accurate poll over the years with very few exceptions, because they do got a guy down there who certainly knows what he's doing, and always interesting to read about the latest Marquette poll as we take a look around. Let's go to D.C. here. This is Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia, the one-time running mate of Hillary Clinton. Let's give a listen to him.
Central to this discussion. In late 2018 and 2019, President Trump forced us into a shutdown of part of government, the part of government dealing with the Department of Justice and other justice-related agencies over border wall funding. The first shutdown lasted for about 2 weeks. The second shutdown, again, of part of government, not all of government, lasted for about a month. And they're horrible. The consequences on those affected, whether they be federal workers or the citizens who need services, are horrible. And no one relishes that in this body. I'm completely confident that all 100 senators feel the same way, that this is not a good thing, and there needs to be a path forward. In Virginia, we feel it pretty strongly. We have the second most federal employees of any state in the country, and we have an awful lot of federal contractors whose livelihoods are affected as well. And we've also seen in the first nearly 9 months of this calendar year other actions taken, whether it's the cancellation of research grants or the backtracking on economic development proposals, the withdrawal of $400 million from the Virginia Department of Health that was critical to our agency's ability to do contact tracing and help stop the spread of infectious disease. So we've seen since the beginning of January a whole series of actions that have already affected Virginians pretty significantly. We had an unemployment rate that was low by national standards, but went up every month, 6, 7 months in a row, largely because of these federal layoffs. So as we reached this moment, it's not a clean break or something new from what we've seen earlier in the year. It's sort of a continuation of something that's been a pretty painful chapter in Virginia. So what are we hoping for, or rather, maybe not to put words in anybody's mouth, what am I hoping for out of this? The House prepared a short-term continuing resolution under instructions from the president, do not deal with Democrats. And the House, with a simple Republican majority, was able to do that and passed a bill that then came to the Senate. Once we saw that instruction, do not deal with Democrats, Senate Democrats under the leadership of Senator Murray, the lead Democratic appropriator, said, well, let's prepare an alternative. Not a non-negotiable demand, but an alternative. And we put that alternative on the table on September 18th. We didn't wait till the 29th of September or the 30th. We felt like, to be fair to the public, to be fair to our colleagues, let's put an alternative on the table with enough time for us to kick the tires on it and have it.
Okay, that's Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia on the Senate floor. I want to take you now to California. This is Congressman Eric Swalwell of California, another Democrat, talking about this. We are looking, and we are kind of at the beck and call of whatever is being offered down in the feed. So we are clearly looking for a Republican response as well. We want to keep this as fair as possible. Let us take you now to California and Congressman Eric Swalwell, hear what he's saying about the shutdown.
Yeah. So we know of a school district that received over $1 million in funding that we had provided to them that was targeted because the administration claimed that they had DEI in some of their school policies. And so I'm looking at one of my aides. I think it's up to $15 million that's been clawed back in total, and we had helped them get some of that money. There was a science fair locally in Alameda County over the summer for kids, and the NASA booth on the eve of the science fair told the fair that they were not going to be able to participate because the county had DEI in some of its policies. I mean, so we've seen the punitive acts, taken against children, school children or children going to a science fair, and we expect that it's only going to be worse with the government shutdown and the lawlessness that they're showing. Well, thank you all again, and I just want to speak directly to the federal workers in our district and the people affected by the shutdown. I want you to know that I hear you and I understand the anxiety that this causes for you, maybe missing a paycheck, perhaps being furloughed and not doing the job that gives you purpose and dignity, and I want you back to work as soon as possible. But I also want to make sure that the millions of Americans and the people who live here in the East Bay who are going to pay a lot more in health care because of Donald Trump's policies, that they have a health care policy that they can afford, where their hard work means they do better for themselves and they dream bigger for their kids. We can do all of that if Republicans come to the table and they end the cuts, lower the costs, and save your health care. Thank you all. Thank you.
Congressman Eric Swalwell of California. Want to keep you in California for this news conference, and what's happening here are these officials from Santa Clara County, San Francisco, San Jose, and Oakland announcing a lawsuit against the Trump administration's attack on disaster preparedness. A lot of events happening out in California coming up, including the World Cup. So let's give a listen to what they are saying out there in California.
Already working on cuts, and we've been working on cuts the last 2 years. We're currently working on cuts now, and we've put a measure out because we can't do it alone, right? And so if the measure comes in, it'll help stabilize our system, but additional cuts will compromise our system once again. And as Tony just mentioned, it'll hurt our system overall. There's not one program that we're going to target. We're going to do overall reductions.
I'm going to answer your question in a slightly different way, which is this lawsuit was not our first, second, or third choice. Our jurisdictions have been placed in an impossible situation because what the administration has essentially said to us is either agree to illegal, unconstitutional politically, ideologically, and driven conditions, or give up money that we need to save lives. And because of that false choice, we have been forced to move forward with a third option, which is to sue, given that we know that these conditions are unconstitutional and illegal, and we're hopeful that the courts will agree with us. We'll have difficult conversations, but we are looking to vindicate our rights as cities and counties, and to be able to receive taxpayer dollars back to the communities that deserve them. We are, as the Bay Area region, as Californians, perfectly happy when our tax dollars go to support citizens in Texas and other red states when they are experiencing disasters. But in instances where we may need help or we need to prepare, we believe that we are due these dollars. That is what Congress said, and the Constitution doesn't allow this administration to simply do what it wants.
Sorry about that. What you've been watching here is a news conference from California. These are leaders from different counties in California who are suing the Trump administration about preparedness funding for federal funds for big events that are coming up there. You got the Super Bowl coming to the 49er Stadium, Levi Stadium, in February of 2026. You got the World Cup coming, and they need money for preparation, preparedness to make sure all these events go safely. They're needing more money that has been cut from the budget for them. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that one too right now. But that is where we're taking you there across California. And we also took you to the Senate floor, and we heard from Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia talking about the government shutdown and the process of what happens next and who is to blame, that the blame game is going to be kind of overshadowing all of this. And don't think these guys won't be watching the polls and to say, well, are we getting blamed too much for this? Is the other side getting blamed for that? That will be a factor as we go forward, and we'll see how long this ends. Will it end today? Unlikely. Who knows how long this will go on. What we are going to do is we're going to take a quick break here on Wisconsin Live Desk and be right back to tell you more about what is happening across our state and our nation as we continue live coverage of everything that's going on. We'll see you at the other end of a quick break.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hi, everybody. 223, 70 degrees on the Wisconsin Live desk right now. Ted Perry with you. Mary Stoker-Smith coming in a few moments to take us from 2:30 to 3:30. But as promised here, we want to try to give as much balanced approach to what's going on at any given time. So let's take you down to the great state of Texas. This is Republican Governor Greg Abbott talking about public safety initiatives for fighting crime. Let's give a listen.
Public safety, working in collaboration with these local law enforcement agencies. They include Texas DPS troopers, DPS special agents, members of the Houston Tag Center, Texas Rangers, supported by the Department of Homeland Security of DPS, as well as DPS aircraft. This is a Texas-sized effort by both the State Department of Public Safety as well as local law enforcement at every level. An effort to crack down on dangerous repeat offenders in the Houston area, using the full might of our most elite law enforcement officers. Houston can be the national model for public safety in America's largest cities. So our goal is simple, and that's that every Houstonian deserves to be able to walk the streets, take their kids to school, open their businesses, go shopping or dining, all without fear. Together with DPS and all of these local law enforcement agencies, we will focus on driving down violent crime in this area, seeking to be the safest big city in the United States of America. And next, I think we go to Sydney. Here we go.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sydney Zeiker, and I serve as the Senior Director of Programs and Special Projects at Crime Stoppers of Houston. Our CEO, Renia Mankarios, and our COO, Nicole Kristoff, are also here in attendance and in support today. And I want to begin by thanking Governor Greg Abbott for his leadership in keeping Texans safe. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
And for inviting us to be part of this important announcement today. I'm deeply grateful for our partners at DPS and HPOU and the Sheriff's Office and our Harris County Constables and HPD and all of our law enforcement partners that are here today. And on behalf of Crime Stoppers, it's an honor to be here. For 45 years, Crime Stoppers of Houston has been the bridge between law enforcement and the community. Every day, we work alongside victims, families, and neighbors who want what we all want, to be safe, at home, at school, and in our communities. Through that work, we have seen a troubling pattern that's now confirmed by the data. Repeat violent offenders are responsible for a big portion of crime. Our Glenda Gordy Research Center has completed updated analysis.
I will learn to bring my mic up sooner than later. I'm sorry about that, folks. This is Texas, specifically Houston and Harris County, where they're talking about initiatives to fight crime. And Governor Abbott just a few moments ago saying the city of Houston and Harris County have already reduced violent crime with these initiatives. So we'll try to get you back there if we can. But what I want to do right now is talk Brewers once again. And I want to talk about what we know about when the Brewers will play. We know they play Saturday, but you're going, what time? Is it an early game? Is it a late game? We don't know, but perhaps this will help a little bit. And this is from Adam McCalvey, who covers the Brewers so well for MLB.com. I'm going to talk to my producer, Delaney. Do I bring this up, or can you bring this up?
Yeah, if you just want to hit tag board on your switcher.
I'm going to hit this button here. Look at that. Look at me learn. This is from Adam McCalvey, a great writer, by the way. If you're not following Adam McCalvey, I'm not sure you really like the Brewers. But this is the situation here. This is for the broadcast of Saturday's game. So what we know here, what Adam McCalvey has been able to ascertain, it hinges on the Red Sox-Yankees series, which is already 1-0 Red Sox, which is something. And so the Red Sox and Yankees are playing again tonight. If the Red Sox win, then it looks like the Brewers game will be at 8 o'clock Central Time, 7:08 our time on Saturday. If the Yankees advance, and they won't advance today, the only thing that will happen today or could happen today is the Red Sox advancing, because that series, again, is 1-0 Red Sox. These wild card rounds are best 2 out of 3. So we could have a Brewers-Cubs game or a Brewers-Padres game. We will have either one of those on Saturday. We just don't know which one. In Chicago right now, San Diego is leading 1-0, but they were leading 1-0 yesterday, and the Cubs came back with 2 monster home run shots to win that game 1 best-of-3 series there. So if you're planning on Saturday, and look, I got kids' games to get to, I got football games to get to, I got a cross-country meet, I get it. I'm like you, as a fan, I'm holding my tickets going, wait, where am I going in the sun, or am I going at night? We don't know yet, but this is the indication. So if you want a night game on Saturday for the Brewers, you've just become a Red Sox fan. If you want a day game, you're hoping the Yankees can win tonight and then again tomorrow. But it's a pretty tall order to beat the Red Sox twice in a row. But, you know, those 2 teams go at it back and forth. So look who is coming in here, Mary Stoker-Smith. She's like a bartender. She's like saying, I don't care where you go, but you can't stay here. Is that what you're telling me?
Last call.
Last call. All right. So there's the situation on the Brewers for Saturday as far as we know. I'm going to thank you for your time. I'm going to take a quick break, and when we come back, the pride of West Salem. We had the pride of Racine on with Vinny Rattino before. He's a UW lacrosse grad, also a UW lacrosse grad. Mary Stoker-Smith, who I'm going to brag on her just a second, folks, okay? Mary Stoker-Smith, come on, camera one, come up to me. Why do I have to take off tag board? Okay, there she is getting ready here behind the scenes. All right, it's not a talking role. I have the mic. Mary this weekend, going back to, can I talk about this? Because I know you won't.
Okay.
West Salem, class of 19, no, doesn't matter. She's being honored. She's going on the Wall of Fame at West Salem High School. How about that? I am so proud of you.
Gee,
that
thanks.
is such an accomplishment. You've done so much with your career. Very happy for you. She's not going to tell you that, so I'm going to brag on her a little bit. She might brag on her. You know, who are we kidding? Thanks for your time. The next time you'll see me on Wisconsin Live Desk is Friday. I'll be down at the Brewers Pep Rally, and you got to see the outfit I got picked out. So we'll see you Friday.
So excited.
And when you come back after the short break, Mary Stoker-Smith will be in charge.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey everybody, Mary Stoker Smith coming at you right after Ted Perry. He just left streaks in here. He's so excited to get out and see how the Brewers are doing. It has been such an exciting time, especially for Brewer aficionados and baseball diehards like Ted Perry, but also for people like me who are really just there for the sun, the celebration, the open roof. Of course, I want to see our boys in blue, the summer. Boys of summer do well, but most importantly, it's so great for the community. And, you know, Ted and I were just talking, if it is an evening game for the Brewers, it's nice for the vendors. It's nice for people tailgating. It brings in a lot of revenue to the city. And so it's really kind of a win-win so far. So we're going to take you to Texas. But first, I do want to pull up this tag board that Ted left off on. And he's saying we have our first information about the NLDS games from MLB. For at least game one, it really does hinge on the Red Sox-Yankees, of course, but the game one is set. We know when it is, but again, we just don't know what time it is. We're kind of hoping for an evening game for so many reasons. A little easier probably for people to get there, but also, again, it's always a good revenue generator for the city when people are eating and drinking and behaving responsibly, of course. So we're going to talk much more about the Brewers, but I just couldn't help but give them a little bit of love because Ted is so fond of them. So I can't let him know that I'm giving him props, but you know, we do what we can. And I need to raise the desk here. It's funny, I wish you could see, just real quick behind the scenes, Ted left and he's right normal height, and because I'm a shorter, I'm standing on a huge box, so I have to position myself. I'll do that while we leave you for a quick minute and head down to Texas. They're talking about something very important. They're talking about safety in Texas. We have seen, just in this year alone, so many acts of violence, and we have seen so many lockdowns, not only on campuses, college campuses, but also, of course, in schools. And so this is all about protecting our youth, protecting our young people, but also protecting adults and remembering the safety measures that now need to be in place. Drills, for example, talks that you as parents, if you're our parent there at home, may want to have, need to have with your children, and teachers, the talks they need to have with their students. So there's important work going on in Texas right now, a press conference. We are going to take a listen to that, dip in, and then we'll come back here and recap some of our stories going here on here in southeastern Wisconsin. We do have a lot to get to today, but let's take you to Texas right now for this very important press conference on safety.
Everybody's got a full-time job. They work something. But we're going to leverage the tag. We're going to refocus our resources on what's most important, and that's these violent offenders. And when you talk about the governor and the mayor, I can tell you it is seamless. We work so many operations with the Houston Police Department, the Harris County Sheriff's Department, and Constable Herman, these behind us in the surrounding counties, that it's really seamless. They share their data, we share our data, we do heat maps, we know where the violent crimes happen, we know when it's happening, it's intelligence directed, we'll saturate patrols, but in that, there's always the investigative piece and the detectives that are working behind the scenes and looking at who are our violent offenders, what do they drive, where are they at, when's the last time, when did they get out of jail, who are they hanging with, what gangs. And nobody does a better job than they do in Harris County. Houston PD started 25 years ago collecting data on gang and gang members. Me, as a Texas Ranger back in those days, I would go to Houston PD and say, hey, I'm working a violent crime out here in Waller County. This is my suspect. Oh, that guy lives over here. He's part of this gang, and this is who he runs with. We know who they are. We just got to, there'll be covert surveillance on them. There will be intelligence. The ones that have warrants are easy because we'll just go get them. And that's a large portion of them. There's other that we know they're in violation of their bond, probation, or parole. We'll get warrants on them and we'll go get them. Others that we don't know what they're doing, there's covert surveillance and we'll find out what they're doing. And that's how we find a lot of these, I don't want to give up all of our operational stuff, but that's how we find juggers. That's what they do. So if we're watching them and they're casing out a bank, we know what's about to happen. And thankfully for the governor and the legislature and some of these new laws, we can get them traffic stopped before they commit the crime. And if they're in possession of certain tools, we charge them with a felony before somebody is a victim. So that's what right looks like. And there's a lot more. And I'll let Ray.
Can I piggyback on that for a minute?
Sure.
Specifically, SB 9, which was filed this last legislative session that you just signed into law, just worked in Houston, Texas last week. We had a repeat offender, had just been released back in the end of August on the same offense that he was committing again this time. We arrested this person on this felony. He was taken in front of a magistrate, but the magistrate could not set his bond because SB 9 no longer lets an appointed magistrate do that. It has to, when someone's got a warrant out for their arrest, it has to go back to the court where that warrant's in. So it went back to that court. Well, guess what? That judge, and she happens to be a Democrat, set a no bond hearing for him in the next 2 weeks. So he's sitting in jail right now and will stay in jail until that no bond hearing is heard. And I'm confident that either he's going to get no bond or a very, very high bond, which means he's not going to be out terrorizing all of you for at least the next 3 weeks and hopefully for a lot longer, because we hope he put him in jail and then he goes to TDC for a long time.
Just one last thing to further answer your question. It's a concentration of resources. Where DPS and other law enforcement, we concentrate resources on attacking a specific problem. You've heard Director Freeman Martin talk about jugging, how we concentrated resources and had success there. We also worked with local law enforcement to address road rage and other problems on I-45 North, and it led to a decrease in crime in that area. This is just a replication of efforts that we have already seen success on when we concentrate the resources, and then when you combine that with the tools and information that they have, that they don't want to give away the details about, but they have tools and information that will allow them to specifically target who they want to go after to make sure we will be able to get to that repeat offender before that repeat offender will be able to get to their next victim.
I'm also curious about why you chose Houston. So Houston has about 5,000 HPD officers. Dallas has about 3,000. Can you explain why?
Sure. So as I have said, and Freeman has said, and Rayhan has said, we have a good working relationship that's long established. And so this is a project that I do want to take elsewhere in the state. But because of the effective and proven and historical relationship that already exists, I thought this was a good place to start. And then we will learn and be able to modify our strategies based upon what we do here, and then be able to deploy our best strategies to other areas across the state. Know this, and that is, as governor, I care about crime in all 254 counties. And so we will be taking this to large counties, but also to small counties. You know, on a percentage basis, because of what happened earlier this year, the crime rate in Houston County may be higher than it is in Houston, Texas, the city. And Houston County, of course, is a small area. My point is this. It could be rural Texas, urban Texas, suburban Texas. We will look at every corner of the state to make sure we are making it as safe as possible.
Governor, one question. The mayor's not here, the county judge, the sheriff, or the police chief are not here. I can't ask them, but I want to ask you, is this an initiative that you asked them or that they asked to bring to the city, especially since our crime rate is down? So why
Sure.
now?
So for one, I've been talking to the mayor about things like this for a while now. I talked to him about this a couple of days ago, and he said that he was not going to be able to be here. It's my understanding that he's out of town today. And so you can tell by the fact that we have a good presence from Houston Police Department leadership. Listen, they're invested in this, and they too want to see crime go down. And yes, the mayor is pleased with the fact that crime is going down, but none of us are happy unless crime is zero. And so we all know we have a long way to go in this targeted approach that we've done successfully with Houston Police Department under Mayor Whitmire, but also under prior mayors, has proven to be successful. We want to replicate that with what we consider to be the most dangerous criminals, and those are repeat offenders.
Can I ask kind of a follow-up question for whoever's qualified to answer?
Sure.
Like, you already have all these task forces, regional task forces. Like, what changes with this initiative? Is more money going to overtime? Are you bringing more people into the task force?
Yeah, so I mean, there are task forces that may achieve their goal, and hence the effort and resources are not being put into those specific task forces. And it goes back to what I was saying moments ago. This is going to be a concentrated effort where at the DPS level, this is going to be one of our primary focuses of operation to make sure that this area and this cause are going to have the resources that are going to be needed to target and to apprehend and to remove from the streets these most dangerous criminals who are the repeat offenders. And then in addition to adding the personnel to it, is deploying enhanced strategy, some of which is new, some of which is already proven, to make sure we will be able to identify and find the people that we're looking for.
I have two more questions, folks.
Governor, I
Yeah.
have a question. Isn't the
issue that we have these repeat offender problems because of judges that are releasing them back out onto the streets?
So
is that a major factor in contributing to this repeat offender problem?
No doubt, the release of dangerous criminals by judges in Harris County is a contributing factor at a minimum, maybe more than that. And that's exactly why I made as one of my top priorities this past session to pass laws as well as a constitutional amendment that would reform the bail process to prohibit and make it more difficult for the local judges in particular in Harris County from releasing these dangerous criminals back out onto the street only to kill somebody else. As I said then, I'll repeat now. In the Houston area alone, over just a year or two, there have been hundreds of people who lost their lives, who were murdered by someone who had previously committed another murder, released by the judge only to murder again. I'll repeat one example, a man named Austin Collette. Austin Collette was not only arrested for murder, he pleaded guilty to murder. And he was a confessed killer, only awaiting his sentencing. And the judge, as opposed to keeping him behind bars during the sentencing, the judge let him back out on the streets. While he was out on the streets awaiting sentencing, he murdered a 23-year-old woman.
And you had been listening to, as you saw there, Texas officials about public safety initiatives to combat violent crime down there in the Lone Star State. Obviously, people from all around the country listening to this, no doubt people from our area worrying about and wondering about initiatives that need to be put in place, making sure they're reinforced, and we make sure, of course, all residents are safe, particularly children and students. So we'll continue to listen to that and bring you any developments as warranted. In the meantime, let's switch gears here and bring in what, not even arguably, I'm just going to say absolute, positive, without doubt, as I look here, the most beautiful sight of the day, Stephanie Barrichello. Okay, Steph, I got to start. We can just be a little off script here because it's weather and it's beautiful. Your hair, did you get a haircut?
I did.
I'm loving this.
It's fresh. Yes, brand new.
Yeah.
I'm thankful that it was still kind of styled from the salon last night, because the second I have to style this myself, it's probably not going to look as nice.
Oh, I love it. It's like a bob. It's almost like this, reminiscent of summer, because that's what we have. Well, it's funny because like yesterday and the day before, I was having a hair day. There was humidity. Today, we felt that drop. I mean, it was, I thought, significant, didn't you?
Yeah, it's a drop in temperatures, absolutely. I mean, we're barely at 70 in Milwaukee right now. That's a huge change from the last couple of days. So it feels very fall-like out there right now, but as we've talked about all week long so far, this is very brief because we are turning right back to summer. And we're talking, I mean, this is higher than our average in July that we're expecting, these mid-80s. It's going to be about 20 degrees above average for this time of year.
Wow.
But that's back by Friday.
Wow, yeah, exactly. Well, that's what we wanted to talk about. That, first of all, people were like, oh, when is fall? When is fall? We feel it today, but it's going to be, still summer is like, I'm not done yet.
Right.
Yeah, I see you, fall, but I'm not done yet. A lot of people, we just talked with Ted about going to the Brewers game, of course, on Saturday. People want an open roof. Chances for rain, or tell us what our weekend, has entailed. And even if you're not going to a Brewers game, sounds like a good time to get outside, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Try to get outside if you love this warmer weather. But for the Brewers game specifically, no, there's no rain in the forecast, which is some good news there. So roof should stay open, and hopefully it does because of how warm it is going to be. So fall foliage, we can kind of start off with this with being, October 1st, Mary. Most of the state, all of the state is seeing at least a little bit of color. Even here down south and in central parts of the state, we have, look at you. Good work. We have a little bit of color here, and we're really starting to see it. I think over, the last couple of days, last weekend, really starting to see it here in southeast Wisconsin, but up towards the north, seeing even more color. And this is the time where northern Wisconsin starts to see peak color. So maybe as you're planning your weekend, if you're not going to a Brewers game, if you really want to see some of those pretty vibrant colors, I've seen lots of pictures on social media, this would be your weekend far up north. If you want to wait to see what central Wisconsin has in the coming weeks, that's just fine too. It's usually mid-October that those in central and southern Wisconsin see peak fall foliage. Now it is October 1st, so while I have you, why don't we go into some of our climate stats for the month? I know we're going to be way above average in the coming days, but technically our average high or normal high for this time of year is down in the upper 60s. And look at by Halloween, the last day of the month, the average high temperature will be in the mid 50s. So another big transition month as we continue to move from that warm summer heat to that cooler fall and eventually winter weather. Now, when it comes to some of the warmer temperatures, the highest temperature we've ever experienced in October was 89 degrees. So we've never hit 90 during the month of October. And I will never say it's not possible, because one of these years it's probably going to happen. We obviously don't have a 90 in our forecast, but both Friday and Saturday especially, we're going to be nearing the record highs for those days, especially on Friday. In fact, I'm just going to skip this graphic real quick because I do have one that shows the records here. So this is what we're talking about. I mean, Friday we're on forecast here to at least tie the record high of 86. Saturday we may fall short, but only by a few degrees. And a lot of times when we have these back-to-back days of heat, the second day can sometimes be a little bit warmer. I think it'll also depend on dew points. Now, Sunday is going to start the dropping trend, and then Monday into Tuesday is when we break this pattern a little bit. Not only will we have a slight chance for some showers Monday into Tuesday, but we're also going to see a front rolling through, and that will likely drop our temperatures maybe even to 60s by Tuesday. So we got to enjoy what we have right now. I know it's very abnormal warm for this time of year, and a lot of you Wisconsinites, I get it, you want fall to come. We see that pattern change, at least for a period of time next week on into the following week.
Oh, it's just, it's been really lovely, though, to still get out and be able to enjoy, the nights that aren't quite as cold in the mornings. I got to ask you, I did see a report saying that we're going to see probably peak leaf, at least in this area, later than usual. And is that because of all this warm air that we have going on?
I mean, it's possible. We've had really perfect weather as of late. Our nights have still been cool enough, but not too cold, and our days have been warm and sunny. I think it will really depend on what storm systems we see in the coming weeks. It's tricky because you don't want it to be too dry, and we've been very dry, but also in any chance for rain, that could start to drop the leaves. So it'll be really interesting to see, but we have had a really perfect stretch of weather as of late. So if we do continue to see, especially some of these cooler nights, then yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they did stick around. It'll also depend on the wind too. I don't see a lot of wind in at least the next week, but with any additional systems we see, if they bring any wind, it'll start to drop those leaves a little early.
Yeah, I know my mom said the other day, I just can't wait to pull up my sweaters. And I said, there's going to be time. I know a lot of people are waiting for fall, but we know what's coming. Right. We know what's coming. There's going to be plenty of sweater weather, as they say.
Sweater weather.
Hey, Bunny, real quick, I got to put that screen I had before I hit the wrong button.
Yeah.
I did that just because we don't have fall leaves right now. So it's green because a lot of people love seeing that. I know it's a funny thing, but when they see that green screen, they're like, they're actually talking in front of a screen. It shows how smart you guys are.
It's just so mind-boggling, too. It's like looking in a mirror. I was just talking to someone earlier, too, about green screen classes we take in college. I can't even remember who it was, and about how difficult it was for someone who was just taking it as an elective. It is. It's a separate class that we kind of have to learn how to navigate this green screen, because you see the screen behind us. I have a monitor on the side and then a monitor right underneath my camera, and that's where I see the graphics. So it's a lot of mindless hand movement.
I got to ask you, you're a seasoned vet. Have you ever had those monitors go out anywhere you've worked and you just had to go blind with, okay, I think this graphic is there or whatever?
Yep. Actually, on the weather deck, sometimes I forget to turn the monitors on, so it's my own fault. But yes, I just have to kind of hope and pray I'm pointing to something that actually makes sense, but every so often it happens.
Thank you for a behind-the-scenes look there. Stephanie Barrichello, always a pleasure. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
You got it. Oh, all right. Well, that was a good thing. I mean, again, a lot of you I know hoping for this cooler, crisp, crunchy, Honeycrisp apple weather. By the way, Honeycrisp Apple Watch, I give you an update every time I'm on the live desk. Just bought a few more today. They are peak and they are perfection. I would highly recommend those just because I'm try to be such a good nutritional food junkie, but a chocolate chip cookie makes its way in every now and then. We're going to take a break, and speaking of crisp and Honeycrisp and sweet things, I do have a reason for wearing pink today. And I want you to put on your pink too. Maybe not today. You could do it today because we start Breast Cancer Awareness Month this month in October, October 1. But there's also a very special reason, a very exciting reason, and a very personal and fulfilling reason for you to wear pink this month. I'm going to tell you about that when we come back after a break. But for right now, we'll go to break and see you back here on the Wisconsin Live Desk in just a bit.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Wednesday to you. Mary Stoker-Smith coming to you from the Wisconsin Live Desk. We are talking about something very, very, very important. I want to get myself a little bit more centered right there. It was a little distracting. Coming up in October. Before we left on the break, I told you I'm wearing pink for a very important cause today, and I have a little pin also that I'm going to pull out a little bit later for a newscast, and it says fight, and that's all that it says is fight, and those are the words, breast cancer, and just one simple word, fight, that really exemplifies what we're going to be doing in a couple weeks. And I need your help. Saturday, October 11th, we are going to gather you and I and so many people here in southeastern Wisconsin and even far beyond for our annual Making Strides Against Breast Cancer Walk. It's going to be down at the Summerfest grounds, Henry Meyer Festival Park, and it's going to be right through the south gate on Milwaukee's lakefront. I know sometimes it can be confusing because it's such a large space, but there's plenty of parking over there, and when you come in the south gate there, the minute that you walk in, you are going to be treated with a show. Last year we had the Dancing Grandies greeting everybody, and if you go to the left, there's a stage, and right in front of that stage is a FOX6 booth, and you can do so many things once you get in there. I'm going to talk about those in just a moment, but the most important thing, the action item that I need your help with today is signing up. Sign up now. We have all the information on our website, fox6now.com, and our Fox Local mobile app that we know that you all have, a free, glorious, wonderful app. And sign up now. Here's the deal. If you don't have anybody to walk with, if you think, oh, I've never gone, if you think, oh, I can't walk alone, if you think, well, it's just, maybe that's not for me, it's kind of a big crowd, I'm intimidated. All I have to say is we want you there. Be part of our family. We need you there. We walk for survivors. We walk for all of those people who are battling breast cancer in the fight for their life. As we well know, a lot of people, a lot of men and women who are diagnosed with breast cancer and treat it and fight it and get a clean slate of health, it can come back. And so there are many people that you will see on maybe their second round or their third round of the cancer came back. But we are fighting for people who are struggling with this disease, people who have survived the disease. And really it's a show of community and support. Every person that we've interviewed ever, that I've interviewed, everybody that you talk to down there says the same resounding thing. It's all about support. It's about having a group, a person, somebody to call and say, hey, I'm going through breast cancer. Hey, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Hey, I lost somebody to breast cancer. Help me navigate these really choppy waters, because it's not an easy lift. If you do have a diagnosis, what do you do next? If you do have a diagnosis and you are limited in terms of getting to the doctor for your appointments, getting treatment, there are resources available, and that's what I'm saying. You're going to find all that down there. You'll stop at our booth to say hi to so many of us here at Fox 6, my colleagues, people that you see in front of the camera and behind the camera will be there. We always hand out some swag, by the way, that you'll want to get your hands on. But then as you walk beyond that, there are resources available, healthcare providers who are going to be there to give you the information. Maybe it's a pamphlet, maybe it's a document, maybe it's a schedule of where you can go to get a ride to your next exam, or how to get a mammogram, or how to do your self-exam. That's not always an easy thing to do. So there are so many resources there to take advantage of, and we want to see you there, not only to support others, but to support yourself. It's a wonderful day. It is full of all of the things that we need to do. Okay, let's make sure we have our exams in. Let's make sure that we're getting to the doctor. Let's make sure we're scheduling an annual mammogram. And let's make sure that we're cognizant of any little change in our bodies, because that can be the difference between a healthy year and an unhealthy year. I know during the pandemic, a lot of people were concerned about, what do we do? I'm not sure what to do because I can't get to my doctor or whatever. And just that year could really make a difference. So it's so important that you're a part of that. Also, we want to push our favorite little group here, Buddy Check 6. When I say little, meaning that in a very intimate and personal way. When you sign up for Buddy Check 6, you're going to get a text message, an email rather, from myself or Kim or Derica or Nicola or Ted or Donovan to be your buddy. And that is a reminder, every 6th of the month, you're going to get one in a couple days from me, saying make sure that you do your exam and reach out to somebody else, a friend, a colleague, a family member, and say make sure that you do your self-exam, because early detection is the key. Let's say it again, early detection is the key. So you see the lineup there, those are your starters. Donovan, Nicola, myself, Kim, Derica, Ted, we all want to be your buddy. So go to our website if you don't have it, or go to our Fox Local mobile app, and we'll be happy to put you on our buddy list, and you're going to get an email from us reminding you to do your exam. And we remind ourselves as well. Everybody there, as far as I know too, will be at the breast cancer walk, so be sure to stop by our booth, our little tent there, and say hi, because we really love to have everybody there. One of my favorite things of the breast cancer walk every year, there are two things that always stand out to me. Number one is the picture at the beginning of the walk of the survivors. We take a picture and we cut the ribbon, and there are balloons everywhere, and there's a release, and we see the breast cancer survivors there starting our walk, leading the line, and they're always flanked by usually cheerleaders or a musical entourage, and it's just such a show of support and solidarity. And my other favorite thing, which is actually probably my favorite thing, is seeing some of you. I can picture a few of you in my mind right now every year checking in to say, I'm okay, I've survived another year, and it fills my heart. This is by far my favorite event of the year, my favorite thing to MC, and my favorite cause to champion. You see, I get a little emotional because, like you at home, we all know somebody who has been touched by this insidious disease. Everybody knows somebody who has been affected by breast cancer. For me, it was my mom, who was diagnosed back in, I want to get the year right, it's been so many years, and she tackled it so quickly. Back in 2007 or 8, I think it was 2008, my dad called to say, your mom's in the hospital, she's okay, but she had a mastectomy. What? She not only had a mastectomy, she had a double mastectomy. She struggled with lumps for years, always kept an eye on them, and then during one visit, when she found something really irregular during her exams, a lump that was a little bigger, more pronounced than it had been before, found out it was cancer. And so my mom, being the spunky woman that she is, now 92, going on 19, said, take both of my breasts, because the chances of it coming to the other breast, according to her doctors at that time, were significant, and also because she had a family history. Her mother had breast cancer. So she said, take them both. I have life to live. And she did, and she is thriving. She got at it, she tackled it. It was caught very quickly, and the surgery was successful all those years ago. And so she's a survivor, 92-year-old breast cancer survivor. So it just touches me, it warms me that we have been blessed with this wonderful health care that we have, early detection, diagnosis, and awareness. So you see how passionate I am about this. Throw in your pink. We have the power of pink and the power of all of the people here in southeastern Wisconsin walking for such an important cause, and that's breast cancer awareness, detection, and of course research from the American Cancer Society. Before we get and move on to another topic, I do want to leave you with the latest statistic, because according to the American Cancer Society, nearly 6,000 women in Wisconsin alone will be diagnosed with breast cancer in this coming year. That is significant. The rates are higher for African American women. It is so important for women of color to be in touch with their doctors and to make sure that they have that connection and they're keeping on top of things, because we want to see, for my sisters out there, we ladies of colors, we want to see those numbers drop, but we also want to see that large number, almost 6,000 women diagnosed with breast cancer, and it hits men as well. We want to see that number decrease significantly, and we need your help, but we can do it on October 11th. We're going to take a quick break. Thank you for being along on that ride, but this is such a great cause, and I want to see you on Saturday, October 11th. So strap on your pink and let's go. But for right now, we're going to take a break and come back with maybe some more colors of the season, which are just the leaves turning to those beautiful shades of red, orange, and green. We're also going to talk a little bit more Brewers, and we are going to talk about another serious topic, the government shutdown. Shutdown at midnight. How long will this last? How long could it last? And what could this mean for you? We'll cover that when we come right back here on Fox Local. Stay with us.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Back with you now on the Wisconsin Live Desk, Mary Stoker-Smith on a Wednesday afternoon. Hope you are having a good day. Before we left, we talked a lot about breast cancer awareness because it is October 1st, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we appreciate all your help and your support as we look into supporting all the issues surrounding breast cancer. It's an important issue. Also an important issue right now, the government shutdown. As many of you know, the government officially shut down at midnight, 11 p.m. Our time, of course. And this all stems from this deadlock in Congress right now, leading to that shutdown. And as of right now, and that is today at 3:12 on this Wednesday afternoon, the government continues to be shut down. We have been monitoring here all members of both parties right now. You are looking right there at the floor. We are waiting to see if there's going to be any more speakers right now. They appear to be taking a bit of a break. So for right now, this is exactly where we are. We are going to have a list of things. We're going to try to get a graphic up of ways that you would be affected with this government shutdown. But the latest is that the proposals to end the government shutdown today between Democrats and Republicans obviously have failed. And so operational matters such as essential personnel like TSA, for example, will remain operational. But again, officially, we are in a shutdown. And while the critical services do continue to operate, like the TSA, including Social Security and Medicare benefits, there are a number of federal functions that during a government shutdown come to a screeching halt. As many of you may be thinking about getting away in October, for example, some of the parks, our parks around the country will not get the service that they are normally getting. Jason Kelby talked a little yesterday about how he saw firsthand when he had gone to a national park some of the trash that was building up because those services were interrupted. There are other programs, for example, assistance for veterans, education, as we said, cleanup efforts going on that at this point are on halt. It is unclear at this point how long that could happen. We just don't know how long the shutdown might last. At this point, at this hour right now, from all signs, from all officials, from all indications, we are getting no signs of a compromise there on Capitol Hill. So if we keep monitoring this and we go to the State Department homepage of state.gov, it just says that there is there's a shutdown in place, and the shutdown is going to basically affect these services, but it's also going to slow down things like the federal court. And so right now, some of those cases that will be seen or are supposed to be seen, those have to be on hold. So there are hundreds of thousands of workers that have been furloughed at this point because of the shutdown, and some of those people are concerned about what do I do for money and what do I do, will health care be provided, and it's just a time to just wait and see what happens. Looking at some of the stories that we reported, say for example, employees that that are affected by the shutdown there, maybe some of those who have been furloughed, basically have been affected and appear hopefully to have a backup plan in the meantime about what they can do. But lawmakers on both sides of the aisle working to end this government shutdown, trying to come to some type of a compromise there to get business back as usual. Again, we just don't know what is going to be going on. We do know EPA employees are expected to be furloughed during the shutdown, but some of them will still be working. But again, there are essential services that will continue during this shutdown as we continue to monitor everything right now. It's hard to say. We've seen these in the past, and it's hard to say exactly how long this will happen. We were listening to speakers earlier who are saying that top Democrats and Republican, including Donald Trump, have failed to agree on short-term deals to keep the government funded. So that's what we've been listening to here as we look at the floor. But we don't know exactly when they're going to start speaking again. We are getting indications that the shutdown is likely to drag on for at least 3 days, with it starting, of course, fully today in earnest on Wednesday. So at least 3 days that could be happening. Senators are not expected to vote again until Friday. Then that would bring us to the 3-day mark, and then we would have to see from there. So, for example, there are a lot of people that are also thinking about, well, what do I do about this flooding with FEMA coming to our assistance here? We saw this record flooding in late August here, and there are people who are looking at some of, help there, some of the checks that may be coming, something that may be helping them along the way. And right now, it's just going to have to be a wait and see exactly what's going to happen. The claim and the payouts, of course, are going to continue, but those are at this point coming to a halt until the government gets back up and going. So we do have things about, we do have that information about what's shut down and what's going to be open. Right now that we do know, there we go, the government shutdowns affecting the Medicare, Social Security benefits, of course, those are still available. New applications, as we mentioned, like, for example, with the flood insurance and the flood claims, those may be stalled. Essential services, as I mentioned, will continue. That's the military, the FBI, TSA checks at airports. Of course, the mail carriers will still be in motion. Mail will still be received. So if you're expecting something in the mail, something important to check, perhaps something from your doctor's office, that will still be in play. And you see there, as we talked about some of the workers furloughed, a large chunk of people, 750,000 federal workers furloughed at this point. So we do know that also there is, the mail services will not be interrupted. All post office will remain open. I wanted to mention that. But the other programs, some of you may be wondering about the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, referred to as SNAP or food stamps, as well, will continue running. That is also considered an essential service. So it's notable to know that those are programs that'll keep going. Medicare, as I mentioned, will continue to perform at full services. The agency does expect to have sufficient funding for Medicaid, at least for the first quarter of the 2026 fiscal year. The courts will remain open. The judiciary courts will remain open at least through October 17th, mid-month. But again, some of those cases could be stalled. Banks, private banks, should be unaffected by the shutdown, of course. And there's a whole list of things that are still open. We do know that the national parks could be affected, as I mentioned. Those are subject to a partial shutdown. We saw, again, some of the problems with them shutting down, and people want to get out there, people who are working there, but also just the trash that we saw there building up. That was always, difficult to deal with. TSA agents, if you are headed out, say that you're flying in the next couple days, no worries there, because TSA officials will continue to work. And also, if you're going by railroad, Amtrak says that it will continue normal operations because of the passenger rail network being an essential service to maintain. So again, if you are taking the train, no worries there. So we will keep an eye on the Senate floor there. We will keep an eye on all of the officials, but at this point, it's just kind of a wait and see thing. But the good news is of course, some of those services that so many of us rely on will continue to carry on there. Let's take a quick break and look around, see if we can see anything else going on around here. It's such a quiet day here in southeastern Wisconsin, and that remains to be a good thing because the weather is really cooperating, and we have the Brewers on tap. So when we come back, we'll take another check of the weather if you are headed out and about, and you are going to the Brewers game perhaps on Saturday. What will be in store? Will you need a t-shirt? Will you need a pullover? Will you need a hoodie? We're going to answer those pressing questions when we come back right after this break. See you on the other side.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
So nice to be with you on this wonderful Wednesday afternoon. How are you at home? Mary Stoker-Smith here from the Wisconsin Live Desk. It is fun to be back because we are talking the boys of summer. It feels like summer and it looks like summer because our guys in blue and gold are playing baseball in October. That's right, we are on to the postseason for the Brewers. Can you believe it? Can you believe the smallest franchise in all of Major League Baseball, right? The Milwaukee Brewers are in the postseason, and not only are they there, they didn't just put their foot in, they just didn't put, a hip in, they're in full. I mean, they are so much fun to watch. They are doing so well, and when they are on a roll, they are on a roll. Let's bring up some important information for you because I know a lot of you want to get in on this fever. And I said at the beginning, even if you're not a baseball aficionado, so what? Just go enjoy the game if you're able to do so. Here's the deal. All right. So this is the tweet that went out a little bit earlier on X. And it says here, we have our first information about the NLDS game for at least game one. It's going to hinge on, of course, the Red Sox and the Yankees. So at this point, we don't know if we're facing the Padres, if we're going to be facing the Cubs. We'll have to see. We did an Insta poll the other day, and most people, the majority of you, said if you had your druthers, you want to see us play the Cubs. Is it because of the long-standing rivalry? Is it because you just want to do all that trash talking? Could it carry over into football? Doesn't matter. We want to see the Cubbies come to town. We will know that eventually, but we do know at this point it's either going to be a 108 game or an 808 game, and we do know that is solidified for this Saturday. So that game will be played at American Family Field. We're so excited about that. It is so wonderful that we get to do that. We get to go there, and it's going to be played, as we said, on looking at the date here, it is Saturday, October 4th, and so many people excited about that. If you need some help getting amped up, well, guess what? There's going to be a pep rally on Friday, and you know who's going to headline our pep rally? Our own master of ceremonies, and that is our own Ted Perry, the biggest Brewer fan perhaps in the state of Wisconsin. Yeah, he's going to headline and be emceeing a big pep rally for the Brewers, and he's very excited because he'll be at the game actually on Saturday as well. So we'll have information about that on our Fox local app and, of course, on our website, fox6now.com. What do you wear at the game? Well, of course, we're all going to be putting on our blue and our gold, but it looks as though you probably aren't going to need much of a cover. Even if you're somebody who's cold like me all the time, take a look at this. Those are the temps for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. 86, double Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday we go back down to 82. But come on, if that's down, we'll take a double of that, right? It just looks wonderful. And even if you are headed to the Brewers game, if you want to be out and about right now, look at those temperatures. Today we're hitting 80, and will we see record highs? Well, we've been talking about it. We do cool down earlier in the week, as you see right there. A record high of 86 in 2018. Oh, I think we got that. I feel that coming. Yeah. If it's a wrestle, I think we're coming out on top. We do go back down into that crisp fall weather on Tuesday. So for those of you looking for some relief, we do hit that later. But for the people who do like this summer weather, boy, are we in store for a treat. So again, if you're going to get out to the Brewers game, you're in for a great night. All things are pointing to a roof open kind of night. And if you're just going to sit outside, maybe go to a watch party somewhere, maybe you have one in your own backyard, boy, you're in for a treat. Speaking of that, we asked you to send us pictures of you celebrating the Brewers, whether it's in your Brewers man cave, girl cave, whatever you want, or you're tailgating earlier at some point in the season, or you're just out and about rocking your Brewers gear. Scan that QR code right there, submit a picture, and you're going to see yourself on Fox 6. Keep them clean, because we want to make sure that we can show the pictures, but we want you to be bossy and brashy and bubbly and just absolutely vivacious with that energy coming to the Brewers right there. They feed off that, you know. So go ahead, send us your picks right there. You can also go to oldschoolfox6now.com and your Fox local app, of course, to send those picks. But we want to see you in all of your glory celebrating our good run here. It's been an honor and a pleasure to be with you today. It's been gorgeous. Enjoy the weather, and we will see you next time on our Fox Local Wild, we call it, our Wild Channel.
Hi,